we use your dead as vessels. At that point, when I'm like, oh my god,
blown.
Yeah, these things are corpses that they've inhabited.
Added so much to it, and I was creaked out. I was like, wait.
And it's just one line. You could miss it if you weren't paying attention. But we used your dead as vessels. Like, really brings home what a nightmare this is.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say we've seen what you are. It was supposed to be like, you've seen what we are. We use your dead as vessels. That was the line.
Yes. Hello, darkness, my old friend. We've come to record again.
Oh, man.
That's right, folks. It's Judgemental Horror Junkies, and I'm Reno Dino Valentino, head doctor at the Asylum for the Insane. And with me, as always, Goreship, the ship that sells the river Styx. And I am psyched about this episode.
This was some good sci-fi horror shit.
Good sci-fi horror shit.
I've never heard of this movie. I don't even really recall seeing any clips of it anywhere. I don't recognize it. And it was so strange that I thought I had seen a lot of them, but this one doesn't ring a bell. And it came out when I was around
1998.
98. So I was around the time of getting into watching horror movies at that age.
Yeah.
And I do not recall that one.
It kind of went into under the radar. I think it opened like number 4 at the box office, but then it sort of...
The cast is huge.
And the cast is huge. It didn't hang on long, but now, since then, it's gotten a real... we throw this term around, but it's gotten a real cult following. It's got a lot of people who consider it one of the premieres of the genre.
Well, I think the taste for...
And it came out a year before The Matrix, so... you can feel a bit of Matrix vibe in it.
Yeah, for sure.
Matrix owes
the color toning,
bit.
Just the hues of the actual filmography.
You mean dark? It went with a hue choice called no light.
No, there is. There's like a gray blue lighting over the city, dude. It has a Tim Burton Gotham vibe.
Oh man, absolutely.
I feel like we're really jumping ahead of ourselves here, just because this movie again was so good.
So we're doing Dark City.
Yeah, Dark City. You belong to the night. You belong to the Dark City. Oh, I'm gonna
beautiful.
Get sued for
you're gonna steal Jennifer Connelly's singing gigs in the future.
I mean, I think that somebody else already stole her for that because she's not had any of the same roles since doing movies like this in the 90s.
She did as far as musicals go, she did this and then Labyrinth in the 80s, and I don't think she actually sang in that. That was all David Bowie.
I only remember her from Requiem for a Dream, and then years later from being a mom in a horror movie that it was just a random one.
Yeah. Well, I saw again in the 80s in Labyrinth. That's when I fell in love with her, and then she was in this Requiem for a Dream, and she's had some roles. She's gotten around somewhat. But before we get there,
speaking of Labyrinth,
yes.
You caught the Labyrinth reference in this movie, in the dialogue?
Where they said... What?
They straight up called her the Babe. She's the Babe with the power.
Oh,
did you miss that line?
No. It might be in the director's cut.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
We watched the same cut, man.
Yeah, I'm still not... we will see. I'm still not sure of that.
We came to the conclusion. We did watch the same one.
No, you came to that conclusion. You said they cut the closing credits, but I watched the whole closing credits, and I don't feel like there was a big credit cut, so I don't know.
I watched all the way through the credits, too.
Yeah,
so
I am not sure.
Maybe.
But... before we get into all that, let me give you the lowdown. Dark City director was Alex Proyas.
I didn't figure out how to say that.
Him and 2 other fellas wrote it.
It was written by Alex Proyas, Len Dobbs, and a bigger name, David S. Goyer.
Yeah, David S. Goyer, who would go on to get busier. Alex says that his influences were Detective Noir, no shit.
Yeah, the dialogue choice that he wrote for some of the stuff, I'm glad that you could feel the shift of the dialogue halfway through the movie, but at the beginning you could tell it was so campy, bro. Yeah. Some of the stuff they said, I was like, this is too noir.
I kind of was connecting that to something that they say later about how the city and all the people are just a mishmash of thoughts and dreams and memories. And I'm like, well, if that's what you do, if that's the cocktail you make of people, then everything is going to sound like campy and movie line and like... And the fact that the city did have that 1950s detective noir feel to it, I was like, well, maybe this is because like that's the fantasy that they are creating for these people to try and get to the bottom of it. Which they being the strangers, the sleepers, the others,
those people
who are never super identified, but these.
I mean, the reoccurring name is Strangers. They keep calling them the Strangers. Even in the monologue at the end of the movie when they explain the origins of how they come to be in this movie and like why everything's happening, it straight up says the Strangers. So that's what I call them throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, these Cenobite Nosferatu mixers.
Which, again, kudos to you for doing that, because I know you had to have done that just slightly.
When I thought of it, that was one of the things I was like... You know, even if Goreship hates this movie, he'll get a kick out of that. He'll get a kick out of the monsters in the movie, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, I thought their look was cool. I thought
like when they're flying, with their arms next to them.
That had a vampire. That had a very vampire feel. Very vampire feel.
Yeah,
that old school Nosferatu style. But also, that was part of the reason why it made me feel like this has a live in a Tim Burton style of filming and inspiration. Just the way that, like, they dressed, the way the city was constructed, the backdrops. It had a very Gotham at night vibe. Like,
and Christopher Nolan actually said that it was one of the inspirations for his movie Inception. So, like,
you know what?
He mentions the movie by name. Yeah, it's not one I would think of off the top of my head, but once he said it, I was like, "Oh,
think about how the dream shifted in Inception."
Exactly.
Right. As soon as you said that, I was like, "Oh, that makes absolute sense." Absolute sense.
I was like, "Nolan, you fucking thief."
Now let's talk about this star-studded cast, baby.
We've got a fucking murder's row of stars here. We got Rufus Sewell,
who I know famously from A Knight's Tale as the villain.
Yeah, he's the bad guy from A Knight's Tale.
I grew up on the shit, and he plays our lead,
John Murdoch.
Or is he?
Yeah, John Murdoch is the name we're going to have to work with. William Hurt, who was in half the Avengers movies that came out. You might know him from that.
Didn't he recently pass away?
Did he?
Yes, I believe he passed. Yes, I believe we lost him recently because he played General Ross.
Oh,
and they recast General Ross recently as Harrison Ford because of William Hurt's passing.
I did not know
he was Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah,
aka the Red Hulk.
Yep.
And so in the upcoming
William Hurt.
Yeah, unfortunately in the upcoming MCU alternate universe movies, they're doing Thunderbolt Ross will be recast kind of like they did with Terrence Howard and
Marvel Universe loves recasting Hulk. They did it with Ed Norton, and now they're doing
that was the other one I couldn't think of. I knew it was thinking of something, but Ed Norton, that's a whole different story. Anyways, away from superheroes,
William
back to
Hurt,
sci-fi.
Is our Inspector Fred Bumstead, and
Frank.
he is Frank.
Inspector Frank.
Sorry, Frank, not Fred. He is the most iron-booted, like, typical detective gumshoe noir. He is what adds the noir to this crime noir.
He was the reason why I was complaining about that dialogue.
Oh,
especially
he gets all those lines.
When they're at the murder scenes.
Yeah.
When they're just, like, looking at crime scenes.
He is a dick. I will go ahead and say that. He's kind of a dick at the murder scene.
Poor humor, too. Very poor fucking humor.
Yeah. He is your typical jaded detective who is over this shit.
Let's not forget our last two killers in this cast.
Kiefer Sutherland, who is Dr. Schreiber. Kiefer Sutherland, no stranger to the horror genre. Flatliners, Lost Boys. Yep. So this is, out of all of his horror roles, including Flatliners and Lost Boys, this is probably my favorite for him. Like, he plays a very different character. He's not an action hero. He's not running and jumping around. He is a wounded, beaten doctor who
disfigured,
has a limp.
Crippled.
He has one of his eyes is
basically drooped and sewed shut.
Yeah. Like he's
like it was
that orbital orb has been
disfigured
cracked a few times.
Disfigured.
Yeah. But he's so good in this. He's such a creeper. And Jennifer Connelly, who plays our love interest Emma, John's wife. or is she? And we also have Richard O'Brien as Mr. Hand, my favorite of the. There were a lot of misters in here. All the strangers just name themselves after random nouns. Mr. Book, Mr. Sleep, Mr. Hand, Mr.
Hand and Mr. Book were the only two I cared to remember because they were the two prime players.
Also, Mr. Sleep, who's the creepy kid. Yeah.
I just called him creepy ass child.
Creepy ass child.
Creepy ass child can go fuck off.
Yeah.
Because you know what?
If anyone wants to argue this is not a horror movie, just watch the scene where that child is eating John's hand while he's holding onto that ledge for dear life, and I feel like you can no longer say it's not a horror movie.
Or how about when near the end, the little kid just goes, "Kill him."
Yeah, that kid. Hey, can we not agree? Smartest person, because they fucking should have killed him. They might have still been in charge if they had if they had listened to the kid.
Great assault. I know it's not really a kid in the context of the film.
Yeah.
But it looks like a kid. It walks like a kid. It talks a little bit like a kid.
Yeah.
It's getting punted to the head like a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's at the perfect height to just get a yeah and be done with it.
And you don't even have to feel guilty, because not a kid.
No. Lastly, we have the lovely Jennifer Connelly from Emma.
No, I said that.
We did?
Yeah.
Damn. I got so excited talking about the killing
the
kids.
lady's so nice, she deserves it twice.
Yeah, I got so excited after talking about killing the little demon kid that I lost track of who we were talking about. No, I believe that's it after the strangers.
Yeah, that's our people. I did not put down our synopsis. If you have one that you'd like to do, I know you love the synopsises. I'm like, we're getting ready to talk about this for 2 hours. You'll get your synopsis, but let's drop it up. Let's drop it like it's hot.
All right. Actually, side note, I want to start this off by saying, since our main character's name is John Murdoch, I actually frequently watch deathmatch wrestling, and there is a hillbilly ass wrestler named John Wayne Murdoch.
John Wayne Murdoch.
So
that is a great hillbilly name.
He's the hardcore, the Duke of Hardcore, John Wayne Murdoch. That's his name, and he's just this fucking rabbit-loving bumpkin from Wichita, Tennessee. And when I heard John Murdoch, all I could think of was this guy.
Yeah.
But it was just ironic. I was like, maybe that's where he stole the name from, was this movie. Maybe he has good taste in movies.
Yeah, it's possible.
Alright, so this is our plot synopsis. John Murdoch, played by Rufus Sewell, awakens alone in a strange hotel to find that he is wanted for a series of brutal murders. The problem is that he can't remember whether he committed the murders or not. For one brief moment, he is convinced that he has gone completely mad. Murdoch seeks to unravel the twisted riddle of his identity. As he edges closer to solving the mystery, he stumbles upon a fiendish underworld controlled by a group of ominous beings collectively known as the Strangers.
Yeah, that's good, and it had the word riddle in it, so I approve.
So, as always, I want to talk about your initial thoughts on this movie, what you remember it, since you suggested it. Yeah, my initial thoughts is, I don't remember it, I don't recall ever seeing this movie. Yours were...
Man, when I first... I saw this in theaters during a Red Hot American Summer where...
Oh, fuck, I forgot you're old.
We were just... Yeah, I saw this in theaters. And it was one of those things where there was a cheap movie theater near us. And over the summer, we would just spend... It was like $1 or $2 movies. And we would just go and cycle through whatever the fuck they were showing.
Love those places. I love those places.
And if it was a crappy movie, we'd make fun of it the whole time. If it's a good movie, we'd watch it. And
be like, why did not more people watch this movie?
I went to Dark City knowing nothing and came out like a changed man. Immediately went out and bought the soundtrack. Nice. Because I will say this, I love the soundtrack. It is mostly instrumental, but there are two lounge singer female led songs in it.
Yeah, that Jennifer Connelly's
Connelly's character sings in the movie, but not on the CD, sadly. Yeah. But one of them I love to this day, called "The Night Has 1,000 Eyes," and they sing. She does sing it in here, but she stops right before the chorus, and I'm like, the chorus about the night having 1,000 eyes is what connects it to the rest of the movie. Don't leave before that part. That's the important part. But it's about infidelity, which will play prominently in the movie.
Very much so.
And how the night has 1,000 eyes. So, like, you think you're going to get away cheating. You ain't. Like, you're going to get caught eventually.
Or will you? I mean, that's the question. Is
well,
it
in the song, you absolutely won't. Because I think the lyrics are, the night has 1,000 eyes, and 1,000 eyes can't help but see if you've been true to me. So she's like, somebody gonna narc on you if you're cheating on me.
There's no such thing as the G code around here. These gossiping ass neighbors want the tea. They want the drama.
In Dark City, there is not. Yeah. So we start with a picture of the stars, and we get our
beautiful the
beautiful
backdrop work. That's just a really, really nice, well done like painting. That they kind of with the Lucas style of filming, where they kind of just added like a film grain over it to give it this realistic texture feel. But it's just like a large painting that you're looking up as a tapestry.
Yeah, and we get our freaky Kiefer Sutherland, Dr. Schreiber's overlay, and I actually copied all this down because this is what I was going to use as the synopsis if you didn't have one. I was just going to be like, they pretty much handle it for us right here at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, as he's hobbling.
Now, Kiefer Sutherland in this has a hitch to his voice. He has a very unique voice.
Almost like a smoker's like gravel.
One, two, kind of, it's kind of like jerks and starts and stops, and it's
panicky, very panicky.
Yeah, very panicky. He's always trying to catch his breath, which, understandably, once you get his backstory,
he speaks how I imagine the people in H.P. Lovecraft stories who are trying to explain what's happening to them speak.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer I have.
Yeah. I opened a door that should have best been left closed.
Hyperventilating halfway through your speaking. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I am not, for you gentle listener, I'm not going to do his voice, but I am going to read this opening monologue because this is what sets our scene. And I was telling Goreship before the podcast started that they actually took this out in some of the later editions because...
Which I'm glad they did.
It was only put in because they didn't think people would be able to pick up on what was happening. They did not have faith in the audiences. The director was against this, but they did the overlay.
Consumer is stupid.
Yes. And here is that overlay. First there was darkness, then came the strangers. They were a race as old as time itself. They had mastered an ultimate technology, the ability to alter reality with thought alone. They called this tuning. But they were dying. Their civilization was in decline, so they abandoned the world, seeking a cure. So, then we pan down to our city.
Wait, this dialogue wasn't the one that you watched?
Uh-huh. Was yours a different one?
Bro,
I told you
that's where the difference is. Hold on, no. They did include this monologue.
Okay.
But it's later in the movie that I watched, the version I watched, it's later in the movie, and it's a discussion between Dr. Sherber and Frank.
Well, I will tell you later on, he almost repeats this verbatim, so you might... So you didn't have this at the beginning.
You know what? Let's be honest. I was not 100% paying attention to everything that he was saying. Yeah. I thought... I do recall him talking about space and time, and I do recall that, but I don't remember him discussing about searching for, a way to save their... I forget that part because I was typing stuff. Yeah. So that might be on me. But I do remember later on in the dialogue, almost word for word, like you said, that's exactly how he explains it to basically have this big revelation in the movie to the rest of the people who are normals. Yeah. And so I guess it makes sense if in a later version they're like, let's cut it out because we literally say it again later in the movie as an actual conversation.
Yeah. Watching it again... I didn't think anything of it at the beginning of the movie, but by the end of the movie, I was like, well, you've said this too many times now.
like how much more clear can you be?
Yeah.
It's not very secret.
We're in the stars, but then we pan down to the city. And my first note about that is this city sure lives up to its name because it's dark.
I love that they went old school. You could clearly tell those buildings were not real, right? They were miniatures.
Yeah.
All right, so they did the old school filming technique where you just film a miniature set and go zoom in closely on it on this miniature that looks very realistically carved and painted. Mm-hmm. And through this little tiny window, you impose the actual live footage.
What's happening? Yeah.
And then we go.
They do that 2 or 3 times, and it's always.
There's also some complaints that I had, not many, but there's a couple complaints I have about this movie in terms of the cinematography, the way that some of the quick edits. I got whiplash. Like, you've talked about it before, but there was some stuff I was like, unnecessary whiplash. Like, this scene is there
was weird parts where they kind of they splice scenes together where I didn't think they needed to.
Yeah.
Where I felt like they should have just had all of one scene and then all of the other scene, but they jump back and forth. And I've noted a few of those instances in my notes, but that was definitely a thing where I was like, that seemed unnecessary.
We pan in over the cityscape of a dark city, wink wink, through a hotel window into a bathroom where we see an unconscious man in a dimly lit room lying in a weird gooey looking bathtub. It didn't look like normal water. It looked like purplish white liquid. Maybe he was having a bath bomb.
Yeah,
maybe it was a bath bomb.
I will tell you this: after I murder ladies of the night, I have got to soak. I get so tired, and a nice bath bomb, maybe a lavender, really just calms me down, gets me ready for action again.
You kept the places in Japan in service.
I sure did. Also, why I had to flee suddenly, but that's another story. I hope the statute of limitations over. Yeah, I hope the statute of limitations over on that. So, another thing I noted here is that something they can do, because the environment is so dark, is that when they have color, they make it pop.
Yes.
Like the green floor in this bathroom and the goldfish that he picks up.
The red in the street lady's apartment. The red wall pattern and carpet. Yeah.
Yeah, even in that like grungy bathroom, that tile is so beautiful. I would not mind laying down on it and recovering from a hangover. I mean, it's lovely. Lovely, like bright lime green that just pops and surrounded by blackness. But he wakes up, he gets out of the bathtub, stumbles.
He's got a nice little bloody mark in the middle of his forehead.
That may be important later.
Also, you gotta believe that Rufus's butt shots in the beginning of this movie, where he's just walking around butt naked in the bath. I get it. He just got out of the bathtub. That makes sense. They kept a good frame shot, just like Cillian Murphy's ass. Making sure that it was the female service being done back in the day.
This is my promise. Every time I pick a movie, there's going to be a dude's ass.
I didn't notice a recurring theme until right now.
I'm kidding. Gremlins did not have one. It's just a weird coincidence.
There was ass being shown in that whole movie.
But
do you
ladies,
remember?
You're welcome.
Murray, the neighbor, he was an ass. He was the one.
He was a horse's ass.
Yeah, that's right. That was my reach.
Yeah, but yeah, we also get. We don't know what it is yet, but we get a shot of these beautiful steampunk needles. There's a broken one in the floor that you just get a very quick shot of. And if you are watching this for the first time, you might think, oh, someone in here was doing a little bit of drugs on the side or something. Yeah.
Well, originally when I saw him wake up in the bathtub, I was like, oh, bro, it's one of my worst fears, waking up in like a hotel bathtub with my kidney cut out. That's what I thought it was. I thought he was in like a bathtub.
He gets out, and he's like, and he's the fucking horse from the Candy Mountain. It's like, damn it!
Yeah, his kidney's gone. Again, I had never seen this movie. I didn't know what I was expecting from it, because it was just like on your request.
So you didn't watch any previews or anything?
Nope.
You just jumped
I went in blind.
That's how I want everyone to
I went in completely blind, so my thought was, oh, this dude got his kidney taken. That syringe was a knockout drug, and he woke up earlier than expected. That's what I thought. That's my initial thoughts. Just from this first minute and a half of opening credit.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay, dude's got his organs taken or something, or whatever. Yeah. Some weird sexual shit happened, and there was drugs involved. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And I will... I mean, I've kind of hinted at it, but I'll say it straight out. Another big influence here, besides the noir, there's definitely a lot of steampunk here. From the knives that the strangers carry, the needles, to just some of the environments, like... Yeah, you get.
I love both of those things.
It's another chef's kiss. Everyone that worked on costumes,
props
and environments, just
set design was backdrop.
Oh man,
even the Foley work, mm-hmm. And for the '90s, the late '90s, when CGI was still very much like being experimented with. Mm-hmm. I will say the CGI is not bad.
It was not. There's only a couple scenes
Where
that
I
were a
was
little
like,
eye-rolly.
yeah.
A lot of it was great. I
Yeah.
was like, this would be fine in a 2023 movie. In fact, it might outshine some of the CGI work in some 2023
Because in 2023,
movies.
it's super computery.
Yeah.
Like, everything looks too smooth.
Yeah, it was choice. Like that
This looked
was
a little
one of
rough.
the things I was wondering if it would hold up, and a lot of it did.
I think it did.
So a phone rings, and we get our narrator again. Shriver tells him he needs to get the hell out of there.
Before the phone rings, this is one of the scenes that kind of gave me whiplash, is when he walks out of the bathroom and he bumps into the goldfish bowl.
Yeah.
There's a goldfish bowl on a nightstand right outside the
and he
bathroom door,
shatters
and he
it.
shatters it. And the way that they cut between him falling backwards and then the bowl falling in slow motion, and then cutting back to him already being on the ground, looking at it, and the bowl still falling when they cut back to it again, and then finally shattering.
Yeah.
It was just, I was like, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
And I just kept, was like, snip, snap, snip, snap, snip,
Yeah.
snap. It was just
show him knock the ball over.
and you could have shown one scene where he's like, oh shit, and then it smashes as he falls.
Yeah.
And he does the kind thing, picks up the fish and puts it in the
puts it in his bathtub.
so it still can live. And it's a goldfish, so don't worry about freshwater or seawater debate. It's a goldfish.
Yeah, it'll be fine. And then you are correct. I forgot the goldfish rescue.
He finds the briefcase as well.
His phone. Yeah, he gets a briefcase with some.
KH is the initials, which is very odd because that's not his initials.
Well, we'll get to the KH's what it means and why it's important in a bit. But he also finds the postcard, which is our first mention of Shell Beach, which will be very important as we go on. Then the phone rings, and our narrator, Dr. Schreiber, tells him, I know you're awake. I know you're confused. Get out of there right now.
Well, he also explains to him that he underwent an experiment that went horribly wrong, and now he's lost his memories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He does.
That's the lie.
Give him the cover story.
Yeah, that's the lie that he initially.
Which I get, because he's on the phone. He's got to get him out of there fast. He can't break into the fucking store.
But he still protected him.
Yeah.
He still protected him.
Oh no! Here's the thing, Dr. Schreiber. I think you're kind of supposed to not like him, but I ended up liking him. I'm like, he was in a tough situation, and he did what he had to do to help humanity. It sucked, the stuff he did at the beginning, but I don't see how he had a choice.
Yeah, I mean, redemption arc character.
Yeah, definitely a redemption arc character. I like him. I'm glad he makes it to the end.
I love
me some Schreiber.
I love in the phone call, though, when at the very end, he's just like, they are coming for you.
Yeah.
I was like, who they?
Yeah.
The Mormons? Who's coming?
I guess it's easier to just say they, because there's technically two groups coming for you. The police and the strangers. You need to get out for both reasons.
False. The police don't come yet till afterwards.
Well, I guess...
They only come because the one hotel worker finds the dead body.
Well, I guess, the police are coming for you, not right this second, but because this is the 6th in a series of murders. Yeah. And you are the person who is the suspect, who is the person being accused of it. Not the person that actually did it, but the person being accused. So we get our first shot of the strangers, or the sleepers, or the Mr. Society, because they all are Mr. something. Just like as the elevator doors open as he cuts around the corner.
This might be where the movie watching differs, because what I watch is after he gets the phone call, he... stumbles backwards, sees the dead body, knocks over the bloody knife, and then he gets the fuck out of there with a suitcase. While he's in the lobby, the hotel worker tells him, hey, John, Mr. Murdoch, hey, your time's up, you're past your 3 weeks.
Okay, that happened after the near miss with the strangers.
I could have swore that they came in, because...
Like, he cuts around a corner right when the elevator door opens.
I could have swore that he comes out of the lobby as they're exiting the floor, and that interaction happens.
It happens upstairs, because that guy who's yelling at him about the bills being due goes up there and finds them there.
I think this is where the difference of the director's cut is coming in.
Yeah.
I think they just placed it differently, that scene arrangement. The same thing did happen in both instances, but one came before the other. That's all I can say.
Well,
is the way that
as he's walking into the lobby, and tell me if this is what everyone is asleep, but they all start waking up as he's walking in and acting perfectly normal.
The clock struck 12:01.
As if they are not just waking up out of a sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm saying landlord, but he's more of like a hotel at a pay by the night.
He's a lobby worker, yeah.
Yeah, lobby worker, and he's like, hey, your rent, if you want to keep using that room you've been using for the last 3 weeks, you gotta pay.
Your time is up 10 minutes ago.
Your time is up 10 minutes ago. And he's like, wait, I've been here for 3 weeks? And he's like, yeah. We keep our books like we keep our beds, nice and neat. And
again, this dialogue.
Yeah, he stumbles out with the fucking suitcase. And the guy who's renting the rooms out finds the sleep zombies.
Yeah, and again, I think this is going to be really weird with the way that we both watched the same movie that was slightly different.
I don't know. Even when we watch the same movie, we have these weird points where we have things
I wrote this down in order. Look at this. I wrote all this down in order when I viewed it.
Nice.
That's why I'm confused. It's like, because what I saw happened slightly after that, but he saw it just slightly before. So, I don't know. And because my thoughts were like, all right, so he leaves the lobby, and then it's like, oh wait, are those Cenobites walking down the hall? Because this is the first time I got to see the strangers ever.
It looks
so I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah,
I had no clue what to expect. But the little kid in the middle threw me off.
Yeah,
that threw me the fuck off.
That's what and like until you find out what they are in their story, you're like, what? And they have the weird sleep power where they just put their hand over you. Sleep.
I was like, are they a Sith?
Yeah, they kind of have Sith Lord powers.
I mean, they look like these new Disney Siths that they're producing. So, hey, man, I'm just calling it like I see it.
Siths. But yeah, this guy finds the sleep zombies, and that's the last we see of him for a little bit.
Yeah,
he'll show up again later.
8 minutes. It's the rest of the characters being introduced and story being developed.
Right.
So
we cut to Emma, aka Jennifer Connelly,
singing a beautiful song.
She is doing her singing and doing her smoky nightclub again. Think your Detective Noir nightclub. She's in the evening gown dress, and she is again splash of color in a dark, dark world. And she is singing a lovely song and doing her little noir sway when the mambo rhythm starts to play. Oh, she's beautiful.
I love that song in general, but when she was singing it, it's very lovely. Very lovely, and she looked divine.
Yes. And then we cut to her backstage, and she gets a call from her husband's doctor. And we recognize this voice again. It's this Dr. Schreiber guy.
And he also makes up another lie to tell her.
Yeah.
It's different than what he told John.
He's like, I am your husband's doctor. Psychiatrist. And he's been seeing me for a while. Come on down. We need to talk. And we find out that Emma and John have had marriage problems. She cheated. She cheated on him, and he left and just disappeared on like a 3-week bender. She doesn't know where he's been or what he's been up to. His doctor, Dr. Schreiber, who also has a nice little rat maze in his psychiatry office, which I felt would be a clue that maybe things aren't what they're supposed to be here.
He's making them follow the cheese.
Yeah, well, and John, most definitely a rat in a maze at this juncture.
Oh, for sure. Especially the way the city is laid out.
Yeah. Well, it kind of, the maze that the rat's in, it kind of looks like a city map, sort of, because it's even rounded in the same respect. Also,
when they cut to the later overview of the actual city, you see it almost has a labyrinthian pattern. When you look at the labyrinth sigil, it literally is the way that the city is.
That's how you keep people out of Shell Beach. You gotta make it a fucking crazy labyrinth. And this is where you find out that they have marriage problems. And Dr. Schreiber's like, well, Emma, because of your mean cheating, he's had a psychotic break.
And he's been killing bitches.
Well, I don't think he tells her that. He just says that he's had a psychotic break.
He should have, though. It would have been funnier.
It would have been funnier. Bitches. And it's your fault. No. He's like, he's had a psychotic break, so if he contacts you, contact me immediately.
Yeah.
That's the thing he needs to get across, because he is trying to get in contact with John, because he doesn't know where John is either. John, meanwhile, is in front of a store window trying to get his name right with a mannequin, because he knows it starts with a J, but he doesn't know what it is. He's obviously got amnesia.
Did you the hotel worker going up to John's room and being confronted by the strangers.
Well, I mentioned it briefly. I said the renter finds the sleep zombies, and that's the last we see of him
look
for a while.
at the unbroken syringe, and you see the liquid inside.
Yeah.
And they fucking shoot him in the head.
A little magic goo.
Yeah, you think he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, you think, they killed that guy.
It looks like
catching them.
Like the goo that's inside of it. Wow, I just have a question. Why did they choose that color? Because
the blue Clorox.
It was not
color?
blue. It was like a white, clearish.
Oh, I always thought it had a blue tint. It kind of looks similar to the water he woke up in. Ironically, to me, it had a whitish blue tint to me. But
slightly, but there was also glitter in it. There was glitter and it had this magic potion.
Those were your happy times.
I was like, I don't know why. I feel like the color should have been different.
Those were your happy points.
It kind of looks like it should come into their forehead.
Glitter cum?
Yes.
You should see a doctor, Goreship. You should definitely see a professional.
Or work for Adult Swim. I don't know.
Or you should do parties. Like one or the other.
Again, I've never seen this movie, so my brain is all over the place looking at this. I was like, whoa, this is intense. Like, the movie jumped off in the action immediately. Yeah. So I'm trying to keep up with my notes.
You start in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
You're playing catch-up, as is our next character, Inspector Frank.
Well, hold on. I want to talk about him practicing his name thing in front of the window because it was so cool. He literally was like, "Hi, I'm Joe. Wait,
I'm
Jack.
John.
I'm John.
I'm Bill.
Joe."
One thing I definitely like about it, and it's a small touch, but it meant a lot to me. He says John with the exact same reflection. He says Jack, Joe, all those names. The name John has no more meaning to him than any of the other names. And that's because, as we will find out later, that's also not his real name.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very small nod to what would come later, that he totally fucking...
He's just in a panic and he's trying to, like, get some type of sense of an identity story together.
Yeah. He's, like, trying to figure out who he is and why he woke up with a dead woman in his room. And then we cut to Frank coming into the hotel that we saw John exit. Yeah. And the guy behind the counter
is different now.
Has changed ethnicity.
It is not a big, heavy-set black guy.
The exact same way.
An asshole.
Like, even says some of the same lines that the dude said. Yeah. So, at this point, I'm curious, Goreship, did you think there was just a real continuity issue here? Or what?
I did. I thought there was a filming issue, and they forgot that they had killed I thought they forgot that they had killed the previous guy who was a big heavyset black man. Now we have this old curmudgeon Mario-looking New York
backwards.
guy.
The black guy came second. The old curmudgeon guy. Got killed first.
And I was like, wait a minute. Hold up! Did you forget you killed the Mario-looking guy?
Yeah.
And so it was just ridiculous. It was funny as shit.
Yeah.
And I thought that this whole interaction with the cops, then it doubled down on the cops being even stupider.
Yeah.
You know, Frank comes in and sees the dead body. Is like, looks like somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Frank really, at that point, should have put his glasses on and then he had to yell.
Had the CSI songs playing.
Yeah. CSI owes this man a debt of gratitude because this might be the origin of that shit. The one-liners.
Bro.
But important information. They mentioned that the person who had been on this murder case before got taken off because he got a little nutty. And Frank has adopted the case. Yep. So this is Frank's first minute on the new case. So as soon as Frank gets the case... Oh, also, there's another body here. Like, Frank hasn't even been to the other guy's office yet. He went straight to the crime scene, and so he's playing catch-up because he, like I said, he just got assigned this case. Yep. But we find out the guy who was assigned the case before him is... Eddie
has lost his fucking mind.
Yeah, Eddie has lost his mind and was taken off the case for leave.
Yep.
And Frank knows. Frank's like, he went nutty.
And then we get a quick shot back to Frank, from Frank, kind of just staring out the window into the city and being like, who is this guy?
Yeah, doing his thinking pose.
Yeah, and we get a shot.
Well, he does do the question. He says, what kind of man murders a woman like this, carves spirals on her, but then rescues a goldfish?
Yeah, he's like, who is this guy?
Yeah, like trying to get in his head. Because that is a weird juxtaposition there.
And then another cool shot. We go out from the window of Frank's perspective into the city, and then floats back over to where John's at.
Yeah, John.
I love that. That was such a cool shot. It's like modern day they would use a drone to do that, right?
Yeah,
but they did this.
Roll.
Yeah, this film had so many cool like. For me, I nerded out about the way that they shot it.
Cinematography was great.
Yeah, I nerded out about some of the way that they did the film editing and the way that they did the cinematography. I was like, even if I get lost paying attention to stars, like, whoa, these visuals are fucking amazing.
Yeah, Dark City it's one of the things it's known for.
And I have such a deep appreciation of someone who almost got into the film career. You know, I wanted to be a director, editor, and be in the arts. I still love looking at films through a like creative lens, not just a like fan lens. Yeah. So seeing that shot, I was like, oh, that's so sick.
Yeah.
And so we fly back down, like we're in Eagle's View, back to where John's at, and he passes a lady of the night.
Well, yeah, on his way to get his wallet back, the renter guy told him, hey, we got a call from
a diner,
Frank's Dino-Rama, that your wallet's there. You need to go get it because you need to come pay me some more money. So he's going to get his wallet back. And you're right. He passes a beautiful blonde lady of the evening. She gives him a
little, like, you know, wink and a smile.
Yeah, wink and a smile. And he goes inside. And he can't get his wallet because... This is one of those Dino-Mats where they have all the food behind...
A paywall.
A paywall, basically.
It's literally a paywall.
You put the money in and then open it and get your... And this is one of the quick cuts that I liked. When someone would take something and they kept putting new food in. Like, between the sound effects and that, it was just this churning... I was thinking clock sound of just
door open, door close, door open, door close. Yeah.
New food getting set down, the sound of the plate hitting the metal. Like, they just did that enough that it was very clockwork style, and I dug it.
It reminded me of those conveyor belt cafes in Japan that fucking like are always alternating extra food out. Mm-hmm. All you hear is the clinking of the cooking and throwing them on the belts.
Yep, everybody's just quietly eating.
Yeah.
And somebody behind the counter tells him, hey, you left your wallet here. He's like, when? And he's like, I don't fucking remember. Here's your wallet. But he puts it in one of the little pay things. So he has to, like, get money, but he can't because his wallet's behind the paywall.
That dude is a dick. He's like, why am I supposed to care? Just leaves it, goes back to adding more food, doesn't pay him any more attention.
Man's busy.
Now let's add more fuel to the drama.
Yeah.
Enter the fucking police.
Yep.
The cops walk in as this dude is wanted for murder, and he doesn't know for sure if they're supposed to be looking for him yet.
And he's kind of pounding on the case, and he looks back, and the cops are kind of giving him the eye.
What's this dude doing? Then we get the
first ringing that this dude, John, is a little something special.
A telekinetic blast. His eyes glow white. Like a whitish blue.
Yeah.
And then he has a telekinesis blast, hits the little door thing, and rips it open so he can grab his wallet.
Yeah, finally. Pops open, he gets his wallet.
Okay, cool. We're going to act like nothing happened here. Yeah. Just shove my wallet in my pants.
He walks by, and of course, a nightstick goes into his gut, and the cop's like, hey, where are you going?
As soon as I saw that nightstick come out, I was like, ACAB, ACAB, ACAB.
Yeah. And then the dude has the fucking audacity to say, I'm just doing my job. Like, no, you're harassing somebody.
Even in a manufactured world, you are scum.
You are such assholes. Like, but the exception of Frank. I ended up liking Frank. But the rest of these fuckers can go off themselves. I got no use for him. So he fucking throws this nightstick out. He's like, where are you off to in such a hurry? You know, typical cop shit. And the blonde from outside comes up and sweet talks the cops and
lovely streetwalker.
Let him out.
Lovely little streetwalker.
Yeah. And gets him out of this jam by kind of razzing the cops about, like, you're bothering this guy? There's a killer on the loose killing my people. Maybe you should be working on that. And the cops are like, oh, Susie, you're always getting our goat. And, like, being dumb shits. But they let him go.
Yeah. God.
And they do, back to her place. I will mention as he's leaving, you have a very large Welcome to Shell Beach sign with a lady waving, like on this billboard, the arms going back and forth, which will be important later.
Pretty fucking cool.
And it's cool now. Yeah. And
yeah, but when they're in the Streetwalkers, I don't remember her name. I'm sorry, I keep calling her the Streetwalker. I know she has a name like Susie or Mary or
whatever. There's a lot of characters in this,
but she wasn't like a super strong character player, but she was sweet.
She was so nice, and she asked him his name.
She was a piece of eye candy.
Yeah,
because he's
beautiful.
He was watching her change. I was disturbed though when her little girl was there in the same room next to this man watching her mother change. Like she was like right there.
I did not see that.
Yeah, the daughter shows up.
Oh, I did.
The daughter shows up, and then when the mom puts on the robe, like she tells her daughter to go somewhere, like go off to the other side of the room.
Oh, I missed that completely.
Yeah. And so he leaves. Yeah, and she's like, "Oh shoot."
Well, she asks his name as he's opening his wallet. He's like,
John Murdoch.
And she kind of laughs because of how excited he is to tell her his name.
Yeah.
And basically, and he's kind of like, isn't this dangerous what you're doing here?
There's a killer.
There's a killer a Jack the Ripper style killer who's
killing streetwalkers.
Yeah. And she's like, well, hey, you got some urges you want to tell me about? And at that point, he does get up and leave. And she's like, oh, shoot. Like, I guess talking about a killer got him out of the mood or whatever. She doesn't think anything more of it.
It's weird that you didn't remember that the kid was there before she started changing.
Maybe they added that. Every time I don't remember something, I'm just going to say that they added the director's cut.
Again, there's little things that I do recall watching, and I'm like, this doesn't really feel like it should have been there.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
But then
he climbs up to that billboard.
Yeah.
Wait, doesn't Emma report him to Frank first? She goes to the cops, finally report him missing.
Yeah, she does. She reports him missing to Frank.
And he's like...
And Frank's straight up like...
Don't you think it's a little odd you waited so long to report him 3 weeks?
Also, I think he's a killer. These women. And this is when she finds out he's wanted for questioning, at least, with these women. And Frank, I'll give him credit, because at first, she's like... He's got a list of names, and she's like... Do you think he had to do with the disappearance of one of these women? And he laughs. Because he's like, one?
Yeah.
And then she, like, you see her face just crumble.
She's like, oh, shit.
He forgets, and he remembers he's a human. And he's like, shit, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of bogged down with this case right now. And, yeah, he is a witness. We would definitely like to talk to him. Let us know if you get in touch with him. And Emma's like, I should not have come here, and leaves. So you were right. There is that scene. And then we get a scene of John getting pursued. We get our first real shot with the strangers.
He climbs up to that billboard because he sees like Sunset or Shell Beach.
Yeah, I have this postcard
He's having
from
a
Shell
flashback
Beach
in his mind
of the ocean and him as a kid running on the ocean.
Well, at the time you don't know who it's that
of
it's
a kid running.
Yeah, you just think, do I have a son? My first thought was, oh, maybe it's his kid that he's like, where's my son? Where's my son?
Yeah, I should be looking for my family right now.
I think that's why he wants to. That's my initial thoughts. I'm under the presumption that he is seeing a child that is his son. He's trying to get back to his home on Shell Beach. That's what I am under the impression of. Yeah. But he roots around inside that jacket pocket and finds the fucking newspaper clippings
of
the murders. And he's like, oh, fuck, I am the killer.
Or at the very least, I'm sure interested in him.
Yeah, that was really, really bad timing, too, for it. And then the strangers are magically behind him on the billboard.
Yeah, and they have him surrounded. And one of them does the sleep trick, and we find out the sleep trick doesn't work on John. And they are as surprised as... John's just surprised they're waving their hands at him, but they're surprised that he does not go to sleep.
The conversation. John, who are you? Who are you? Yeah. That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
And
you're saucy.
And it's like you should not be able to do these things. You're causing a bit of a nuisance. You're disturbing the force, basically, is what they're saying. We
need to put you to sleep and study you. And John's not down with that. And John starts releasing more of his psychic powers in this battle.
He accidentally kills the majority of them.
He kills 2 out of 4.
Yeah.
He makes the they're on like a painter's catwalk.
And
near the sign,
the wood's rotten,
and he makes the wood break.
Oh,
with his weird psycho powers.
I thought one broke and then he deteriorated the rest behind him.
Well, potato. They all break. With his help, and there's ropes underneath, and one of them gets hung up in his neck, around his neck, and chokes to death. Another one gets
a psychic blast back, and right as the arm is coming down,
chops the back of his head off, and you get a nice blood spatter on the Shell Beach sign, and that dude falls dead as well.
And while John is hanging onto the rope, because he also fell through the eroded wood, and he's watching the one dude be choked to death.
Yeah, beside him.
He looks up and he sees the one that got the top of his head sliced off falling over, and you see this bluish white goo liquid monster,
like tentacles,
coming out of the head,
and then
it just dies. It just like evaporates and sizzles. Like it dried up and died once it hit the oxygen.
Yeah,
and you're like, what the fuck was that?
Right? And at this point, one of them says he can tune, and we know what that is because of the opening monologue. Yep. Tuning is changing your reality with your thoughts. And I was like, oh, poor Mr. Quick. Because they say that Mr. Quick was one of the ones that got murdered. Because we cut back to...
And they're very fleshed about this. They're like, how does this guy exist?
Yeah.
How does this guy exist? Like, what did you do wrong?
We have the bald council questioning the two now that survived about what the hell happening.
So this is a little bit right here.
Mr. Quick is no more. And then they do that weird chatter speak of they're all very sad about Mr. Quick. They're like...
Yeah. It reminded me of fucking someone out of Harry Potter.
Oh, well, it reminds me of the Cenobite that does the chatter.
Oh, chatter, littering. But no, there's a little bit of continuity issue or storytelling issue that I have right here at this particular moment going forward. So, they're all addressing the issue.
Yeah.
There are people in that room of the strangers, Mr. and Mrs. whatever they are, they're all saying different things. They're all
misters. That's a good point. I never noticed.
They're all having, like throwing out their own concerns about what to do.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit further down the line, when they explain, the way that they exist, they call them a hive mind. If you're a hive mind, you don't have individual thought. Like, you don't answer, like, you don't get to have your own projections. You would answer to, like, the one hive head.
Yeah. I think, like, the hive mind thing...
So that's why I was a little confused, because they're literally speaking up against each other. I'm like, you shouldn't be able to do that. You're all one brain. You're all one brain. Yeah. That's why whenever the one dude died, Mr. Quick, when he died with his head getting chopped off, that's why all of them felt it. Yeah. They all felt the death.
Yeah. But it's also weird that they're like, oh, where's Mr. Quick? Mr. Quick is no more. And like that, they had to be told that. Yeah. They didn't just know. So I think they might be a hive mind, but only in like a very light touch kind of way. Like they
in proximity?
So, well, I was thinking more like how identical twins can sometimes know what the other one's thinking, or occasionally when one's in trouble, the other one knows. At least,
or like in Luke and Leia when they can force sense each other.
I think it's a little more vague than. I don't think hive mind
I know
is the right term, but I guess it. Similar, something.
They straight up said hive mind. That's why.
Well, see, the fucking Dr. Schreiber did, and he's an outside force looking in, so it might have appeared to be a hive mind to him. Maybe.
Okay. But
I agree. I don't think that was the best term to use. But I also don't know what term I would use instead, because they do have
I don't know why I fixated on this one.
They do have sort of a sibling thing where they can sort of sense, but not. They still need to explain details.
I'm not sure why I fixated on this one particular point about the lore, but I did.
No, it's fine,
and that's why I was like, it's still a great fucking story going forward. But this one particular point, I want to know if you have.
I'm going to think hive mind more like siblings who can sort of vaguely sense each other's thing, not like a hive mind like the Borg.
Yeah.
Which they also resemble, as long as we're calling out people they resemble.
And which is funny, because the Borg are straight up rip-offs of Cenobites. Like, the guy who made the Borg assimilator stuff, all that storyline, he's like, oh, I loved Hellraiser. I loved it. He's like, what better way to combine robots with hell? Yeah. So, but it's still cool in terms of, like, the way that their lore works. Like, oh, we all have these crazy psychic telekinesis powers, and we can manipulate matter into existence like Scarlet Witch and bullshit. Yeah. But, like...
We have to all work together and use this big machine to do it on like a global scale or a city scale. And obviously, Mr. Book is introduced here. He is the leader. He seems to be the one that they all...
He's the oldest one there, so I assume that's why.
Well, that could have been at random when you figure out how they get these bodies.
Yeah, true.
But he is also the one that like everyone seems to kowtow to. Yeah. So there is some sort of
Mr. Hand being a
hierarchy here. Yeah. John and Emma reunite because John breaks into her
just creepily apartment. In the dark, smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Dealing with the trauma of the last, I don't know, what's it been, 3 hours?
Yeah.
4 hours at this point?
Yeah.
You're not sure what the time is.
He's like, I have a key. I guess I live here. I guess we live here. I guess you're supposed to be my wife. He's very obviously confused.
He tries to explain it to her that he's like, I don't know you from before just now. I've never met you till right now.
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean?
She's like, oh, you have amnesia. And he's like, I feel like it's more than that. But then he notices that there's a police car outside because Frank took Emma home, and she thought he had left, but he hadn't.
Also, when he was taking her home, she did disclose their marital issues and kind of the discourse of what she remembers from the relationship. But she also was like, but I also don't really feel like I do know him.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of discourse in her own mind of what she thinks about their relationship. There's a lot of people just going through the motions because if they stop and think about it, the stories start to fall apart. But no one ever has time to stop and think about it. Everyone's just got to keep moving. But, yeah, he notices that. He tries to leave. Frank catches him. They have a nice chase scene through the prettiest staircase I think I've ever seen in my life. That whole building, yeah. I was like, whoa, this is a really nice place to live. I wonder what the rent is.
Yeah.
But I love, right as the chase is about to start, again, with Frank's bad noir cop humor.
Yeah.
He's like, Emma, step aside, come here. He's like, she pushes into him. She's like, run, John! Man. Run, John!
Even thinking he might be a serial killer, she is standing by her and man, Frank, ride or die.
Frank just grabs her and by the shoulders and puts her aside. He's like, why did he never listen to me?
I loved. Yeah,
I loved when he just straight up in defeated anger was like, why doesn't anyone ever listen to me? And he runs down the stairs.
Now he knows we gotta do a chase.
Unrealistic, though. This is how I know that Frank was not a cop or an inspector in any past life or whatever this turns out to be.
Yeah, this is a new gig.
He doesn't shoot at all while he's chasing. That's how I knew he was never truly a cop. He never shot him in a fucking public place.
He's an inspector. They aren't the shooters. It's the beat cops that are and the SWAT members that are trigger happy dudes. Inspectors use their minds to run down stairs.
And before you become an inspector, you have to be a street cop.
No, I'm sure that is true.
But that's why I was like, oh, he ain't never been a real cop. He ain't shooting in the lobby randomly through the walls trying to kill John.
Speaking of beautiful locations, Dr. Schreiber is hiding from the strangers in this beautiful bath. It's kind of like a pool, hot tub bath.
It's dope. It's very dope.
It's so dope. There's like a statue of Venus and the framing of it through this like arched window where you can see just the back of his head. But the strangers come here anyway, even though he was hoping they wouldn't. And they're like, we don't like humidity.
Yeah. I think this is another thing where we're going to defer because I have more notes that are in order before the pool thing. There's two things that happen that were probably insignificant to you, but when John escapes, he gets into a cab. He escapes, and when he's asking for directions to Shell Beach, the driver doesn't seem to be able to tell. He tells him, oh yeah, me and the wife have been there tons. We went there on vacation. Alright, how do you get to Shell Beach? All of a sudden, the cab driver is having a very hard time recalling. If you just go over 7th and just kind of keep showing.
Yeah, I do have that just, after he escapes from Frank.
Yeah.
He makes a door appear and...
Yep.
Yeah, and gets out, but he drops Schreiber's card.
Yeah, I have all that, and that's how...
All right,
Frank,
I just have the humidity scene before that. We'll just do it real quick, and then we'll go with your order. That's... The strangers are like, we don't like humidity. Also, Schreiber, where you been? You haven't been reporting in. And Schreiber's like, I got scared. You got a crazy dude on the loose. And they're like, don't fuck with us. That's pretty much the scene.
and right before that, Inspector Frank questions Schreiber and says that
that happens after in mine because Frank, that has to, because Frank doesn't know to question Schreiber until Joe drops the card.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The way that it works is John escapes, he opens the door, gets into a cab on the other side of the door.
Yeah.
And then the cab driver has a hard time remembering where Shell Beach is or how to get there.
Even though
and
he was
from
there for Sunny Man.
the dropped card, Inspector Frank is like, Dr. Schreiber. So he meets him outside of his office building. And that's when he starts questioning him and says he believes he's being lied to and he doesn't feel Murdoch is the murderer after meeting as many as he has in his line of work.
Yeah.
Frank Schreiber's like, I know killers. I've seen enough of them to know, and this guy does not feel like that. And you know what the doc does? The doc just gives him a really harsh psychoanalysis and calls him a lonely loser.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And
Here's the thing,
it worked. It worked. Frank was just like, well, fuck you too then. And just went away.
And here's the thing, though. He's cheating. He knows he's a lonely loser because he put those thoughts in his head.
Yep.
He's not using... He's not psychoanalyzing him. He's like, I know you're a lonely loser because I put a pinch of lonely loser in the cocktail that I shot into your brain.
And then from that is when I got to the pool scene where the doc is taking the swim.
When do you have Frank talking with Eddie? Because he goes to Eddie's house.
Right after the pool scene.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the pool scene, the ladder disappears. When Schreiber is swimming a little bit, he's trying to get away from the edge.
This is how I used to kill my Sims in the old
Take
Sims
the ladder out of the pool
game.
so they can't climb out.
Yep.
Well, he starts getting away from the edge because he's like terrified of Mr. Hand, and Mr. Hand makes the ladder disappear.
Yeah.
And he's got a crippled leg, so Schreiber's not a very strong swimmer.
Right.
So this is a form of torture as well as a salvation for him, because Hand can't get near it. Don't like humidity. And during this is when the doctor is revealed to be the one who did what has happened to John, and that he attempted to make him like the rest of the people. But John woke up in the middle of his operation and broke that syringe from the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
So with the remaining pieces of the process not there, it caused him to lose the memories that he was supposed to have.
He did have a psychotic break. The doctor wasn't lying about that.
And now, because of that, he believes, this is from Schreiber's own mouth, he believes that it's caused him to have as much power as they do, if not stronger than their leader.
Yeah.
Schreiber's like, I believe he may be the next, he's going to be more powerful.
Well, Mr. Book is like, it takes us years to do this, and you're saying a human just suddenly got the power and is actually defying our will. And Schreiber's like,
he's the evolution.
I'm open to other... Well, yeah, he's like, maybe it's an evolution. I don't know. Do you have another suggestion? And Book has no answer to that. But Book is like, I want you to make that exact same cocktail again. And Schreiber's like, of course. And then he's like, yeah, and no more disappearing on us. We don't want to come find you again. No more abnormalities in your schedule or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we get to Dr. Frank visits Eddie.
Because he's feeling lost at this point. He's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, so he wants to talk to the guy who had the case before him. Eddie's wife he asked Eddie's wife, like, oh, is he any better? And she's like,
no, he's gotten worse.
Not say he's worse. Yeah, and they go in, and Eddie's doing the spirals on the wall.
He's also drawing very crudely the versions of the strangers. And
he's got paper up everywhere.
Yeah.
He's got the strangers being drawn.
He was doing the red thread thing, connecting article to article. Yep. Yeah.
And Frank's like, you're scaring your wife to death. And Eddie's like, I don't know. That's not my wife. I don't know who that is. And if you were watching this from an outside source, you'd be like, oh, Eddie's a fucking nut job.
Yeah, because he's like, none of this is real.
Yeah.
He just
there is no case. That is my favorite thing. Out of everything he says, there is no case.
It's all a big joke.
There is no case. There never was. I wrote that quote down because, man, Eddie, he fulfills that role of the crazy but wise role where the guy is crazy, but he also is the only one knowing what's going on. And it's kind of like reacting to what's going on in any other way than going crazy would be crazy.
And so this is where I had another question in mind. I was like, well, if they're aware of Eddie and his memories being all over the place and him basically catching on to them, why do they not stop it? If they can make people shut off anytime they want at the strike, like they do throughout this movie multiple times, how come he's still... Even when he's knocked out, how does he still retain his head?
They mention this in the humidity scene because Dr. Schreiber's like, you've had strays before. They're talking about Eddie.
Oh, I didn't put two and two together.
And once you've woken up during the process, much like John, you're just awake now.
Yeah.
So he's watched this the same way John is getting ready to see it. He's watched the tuning, the midnight tuning. So now he does know what's going on as far as... He knows that, like, the whole city changes. There's no way out of the city. these crazy fuckers come up and shoot needles into people's head and carry bodies around for different places. And
that's also
like,
when
fuck.
when
and now we're gonna see our first tuning.
Frank gets that big reveal, and you see John following Schreiber from the pool hall, from the pool house, to basically, I guess, what you would consider their home base, the hideout for the strangers, wherever they operate out of.
Yeah,
and you get
a door opens in a wall.
You get to see the science of how Schreiber actually manufactures it, with basically extracting a little bit of childhood trauma, a little bit of self-inflated narcissism.
I wrote the doctor's talking smack as he makes personality goo, because one of the dudes is watching him and he's like, oh, this might be the blush of first love, or of many lovers, a man who has had many conquests, but you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I'm like, I would not tease these guys.
Really poking the worms here.
Schreiber's got a rebellious streak in him. But yeah, you're watching him make these personalities that they've requested. And you also get to see a fun little assembly line where they're making the pieces that they need for whatever new scenario they're doing. They're making like new driver's license and new like passports and like little bits and bobbles.
There's a full-blown operating system. They even have to manufacture the fucking like furniture that they change the houses out with and shit like that.
And it was revealed here more
sequentially.
Thank you. That they're looking for the human soul. They're trying to figure out what makes humanity individualistic and able to survive where they are dying. So that's why they keep mixing and matching goos to try and make up a person who can reveal that secret to them. And man, we are getting ready to watch John have a experience a tuning.
All right, so the tuning, when it begins, they open the giant head monument that is in their lair,
with the clock under
and it reveals
with no numbers.
Yeah, a clock of time.
Yeah.
It's just a clock of time.
Yeah,
of like almost like the colors represent different like functionalities. It's almost like that fucking Leonardo da Vinci time scope, basically, where he believed in the idea of early time travel theories. Yeah. I was like, that looks a lot like the Da Vinci scope.
Yeah. And this is what they use to concentrate their tuning to change the city around.
It magnifies it.
Yeah.
It's this monument that they've made that magnifies their powers as a hive mind. They have to be a hive mind in cohesive unit to manufacture the world and reshape it. Yeah. And this tuning scene is so fucking cool.
It's so good. Although John,
at the strike of midnight,
28 days later, he's running around going, "Hello, hey, wake up!"
It's so funny.
Shut up, John. There are sleepers everywhere.
At the strike of midnight,
Yeah.
Mr. Book goes, "Shut it down!"
Yeah.
And everyone in the city, once they hit the strike of midnight, it chimes, and they all just while driving, clonk out.
We have this very, and these two are the people we're going to concentrate on. There's this couple in this very little dingy apartment talking. They got a big bowl of soup in front of them, and the guy's like, well, Charlie down at the factory, he's been giving me guff. He's been acting like a crazy man. And she's like, well, I'm glad they fired him, blah, 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 blah. And then it hits midnight, and both their heads just fall in the soup.
I was like, they gonna drown.
Yeah, right? But somehow they don't. Zombies come in, and the strangers pull their heads out of the soup, clean them up, and they get a
lifestyle upgrade.
Yeah,
bro.
they
become
up the ladder.
Rags to riches. They literally moved up to the east side.
So as everything is changing, this hovel becomes a mansion.
They literally moved the building up to the east side. That's how rich they got.
I mean, it was more of a vertical. More moving on up.
It was
literally moving on up.
It was a slide to the left. Now go up this time. Go up this time.
Go up this time.
Crisscross. All right, sorry. We keep
the table gets elongated. Their meals change from like pauper soup to like a 12-course dinner that fills out the
fancy
table.
roast.
Even the candles,
chandelier, giant,
this beautiful fireplace. The fireplace forming reminded me of the scene in Beetlejuice where the fireplace formed
into a doorway.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I like that.
That was cool. I love when they're walking down the steps.
Yeah.
And Schreiber's just looking around like, this is fucking unnecessary.
Yeah.
And he's just walking, and the steps behind him start elongating as he's going down. Each one, the steps start getting taller and taller.
Couldn't you wait till I got up here?
Yeah.
I got a bum knee. Why are you doing this to me?
I was like, damn, bro.
But he opens up his little satchel, and you see he's got the needles clearly labeled for people. And he's turning these poor people into rich people, because maybe that's the secret to having a soul. Although it's the secret to losing your soul, if you ask me.
We forgot to mention that when they were at the pool house, and John was there listening in on the conversation between Mr. Hand and Schreiber, he opened the briefcase and saw all the syringes and shit. Mm-hmm. And I thought he took one out. I thought he took one out to, like, basically steal it. But
John?
Yeah.
No. He'll get one later.
Yeah. That's the better one.
This is where, after we get some great injection scenes, like with the camera actually showing the needle coming into the forehead, and then the view as if you are the forehead with the needle like on the needle going right into your eye. Great injection scenes of him adding these new experiences into these people, mixing up a new cocktail for this couple. And
I loved when they're doing the tuning and you see in the hive mind and they're all together. Mr. Book is in the middle, and then it zooms in on his eyeball, and you just see through his iris, through like a window, it goes into the middle, and then you see like the tentacle monster behind his brain, shooting electricity all around and making it happen,
doing the tuning.
And I was like, "Holy shit, that's so."
We
dope.
only get like 3 shots of the creatures inside them, and that one by far is my favorite.
This whole 2 minutes that it takes for the city to change.
Tuning's so much fun.
The tuning, it
all
just,
the buildings are coming up, going down, moving left, moving right. Roads are elongated.
Some are getting destroyed and replaced.
And the architecture of buildings is modifying and changing. There's so much fun to watch.
There's a couple where they weren't like fully focused, and they asked them why they didn't finish stuff later, and it's because they weren't fully focused. So there's a couple.
Well, no, they said because there was a force working against them. That's where John was. The Avenue M.
Where the building's like mashed halfway through. And
it's because John's there.
Okay.
And he is subconsciously pushing back.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know he's doing it.
Yeah, okay.
Which is, again, just another show of how fucking powerful he is. But after Doc's had a hard day of work, he comes walking out of this now mansion, no longer a hovel, and John is there. And John's like, "Oh, my doctor, I presume."
And then he's like, "Take this, bitch. Mind power."
Yeah, because
knocks his ass down.
The doctor is like, "I'll give you your answers, but not here, not now. They're going to find us. If they catch us together, all will be for naught, etc., etc." John does not like that answer and throws him across the street, basically, with his mind powers. And this is where Schreiber is like, "Oh, the rumors were true. What they told me were true. You can too.
Yeah.
You have their power. That's awesome."
Yeah. He's like, "This changes everything now."
Yeah. My plan is working.
And he basically runs off. John runs away because he has like this feeling that the strangers are coming. Yeah. Which they show up immediately after he makes another door to find.
Yeah, and they find Schreiber, and Schreiber's like, "He attacked me. He ran off. I don't know where."
Tell him more lies.
He's covering his ass. Yep.
The clock strikes 12:01, and boom! Everybody wakes up, and nothing's happened.
Nope. And we go back to Emma, who's singing the verses. For the night has 1,000 eyes. Sadly, again, she doesn't get to the chorus.
There's a cool little shot. Maybe it was in the scene with you, but after everyone wakes up, did you remember the scene where Frank is sitting there at his desk with his accordion?
Yeah.
And he wakes
Weird
up.
Al's granddad.
Yeah.
He's got this big...
He wakes up, and he looks over at his coffee, and his coffee is spiraling, and then he looks down at the fucking thumbprint, and the thumbprint is a spiral.
Oh, I didn't know.
Because he made that comment earlier in the movie. He's like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
He's like, "This is this." He's like, "The thumbprint matches up to what he did to the woman's body. It's what he carved into her." Yeah. He's like, "Is this a fucking joke to you?" Yeah. And he just kept it on his desk. And I thought it was he looked at it and looked at the fingerprint. He's like, this has got to mean something.
See, I noticed him look at the coffee. I missed him looking at the spiral, and I thought he was noticing that his coffee had gone cold. Because so much time had gone by, I thought he was picking up on like, why is my coffee cold now? But yeah, that makes much more sense.
I did think about this as well. So we do cut back to Jennifer singing in the lounge again, looking beautiful as always. But my first thought was like, bro, shouldn't she be in jail for helping a criminal escape? capture? Like shouldn't
she pushed him? Frank decides not to press charges, I guess, or whatever the cop equivalent of that is.
White privilege.
He was. It's a white woman. What are you gonna do? Arrest her?
You see,
you leave that Karen alone.
You see, Dame, you do it again, I'll take you to jail.
This is the last time, Emma. Come on. This is also where we find out why Schreiber was making John's memories up again of the serial killer John, because they're going to inject it into one of the misters. They're going to give it to Mr. Hand because they think if they give it to Mr. Hand, he might be able to figure out where John's going.
Hand just volunteers. He's like, I'll do it.
Yeah, because they will hopefully be able to guess where John's going to be before John gets there. It's kind of a trick to figure out where
everyone that
John's
he knows will have already known.
Exactly.
So we know where he may potentially go.
Yeah, which first gets him to that poor nice hooker lady.
No, I want to talk about before we get to the hooker lady.
Okay. Well, this is also where the JH is explained on the suitcase.
Mr. Book says,
yeah?
Is it done? And Mr. Hand turns and just opens his eyes and says, oh yes, Mr. Book, I have John Murdoch in mind.
Yeah.
And looks dead at you.
Yeah.
Even though he's supposed to be looking at Mr. Book, he's looking at you. I'm just like, alright.
I wanted him to wink.
Clench fist. Clench fist.
I wanted him to wink at the camera.
It was just,
but he didn't. Sadly,
I felt like I was watching fucking
mine.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein when he said it like that.
Made me very happy. So, to explain the suitcase, our hero John looks at the postcard again, and it's got Harris Fishery on it. John Harris Fishery. Then he looks at the suitcase, and he's like, oh, this is John Harris's suitcase. And the postcard must have been mailed to me by John Harris, which means me and John Harris are related somehow.
Carl Harris.
Or, I'm sorry, Carl Harris. Yeah, it's K-H on the suitcase. And so he flips through the phone book, finds the address, and starts heading in that direction.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I just wanted to correct.
It is good for me while trying to explain something to you to get it correct. Otherwise, we'll both be lost.
Yeah.
You are correct.
From the get-go, all I could think about was KH from that opening.
I wrote John Harris, but Carl Harris. You are correct.
Yeah. Uncle Carl!
But while that happens, while he's doing that, the misters go after that nice blonde lady that... I must reiterate, John did not murder.
Well, in the flashback we just saw when Mr. Hand got his memories, you see the sexual love interest between him and Emma, them laying down, and then her telling him about the cheating and him losing his shit. And you all see this as John.
Yeah.
And then John goes in the hotel and you see him kill that blonde woman. He's standing over her with a knife, looking at himself in the mirror.
But then it's Mr. Hand.
Yeah. So it's like, whoa. Is Mr. Hand seeing what John's fake memories did, or is this what... Well,
later you see the Mr. Sleep, the creepy kid, drawing spirals on the body of the blonde or the seventh victim after the blonde. So I don't think that John did any of this. I think it's all fake memories given to him by Schreiber, and I think all the actual murdering was done by the freak shows and the Stranger Squad.
And so,
which should be their superhero name.
After
the Stranger Squad.
After John looks over the suitcase and reads the note on the back of the postcard from his Uncle Carl, he passes the guy at the newsstand. From
who is the landlord?
The original landlord from the hotel lobby. And I love when he asks him this. He goes, hey, how long you been here? He's like, 25 years, no time off for good behavior.
Which is something he said earlier when he was a landlord.
And I was just like, oh shit.
Because he tells him, no extra time for good behavior when he's talking about he has to keep charging him for the room. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, this one he's talking about like he has always been here as the worker at the newsstand and saying that he doesn't get any time off of this job.
Yeah. That's dot. Yeah. They're like, well, you get at least an hour to sleep every day.
I thought that was another little layer. Like, man, you probably got to feel absolute batshit crazy right now seeing these people over and over and over again.
John finds out that he cannot use the subway to get to Shell Beach. He's like, oh, does this go to Shell Beach? And like, no, you need the express. And he gets off waiting for the express. It goes by. He's like, why did that train not stop? And they're like, well, it's the express. And he's like, And it gave me like some flashbacks of living in Brooklyn and like not knowing the subway system and being like, wait, why did the A line not stop here? It's like, well, the A line's the express. It only stops at these stops, and you're on one of the C line stops. And I'm like, fucking hate this place. I grew to love it. Public transportation, I'm a big supporter. But man, when you first get there, it will give you headaches.
But I do want to say my R.I.P. So sorry, pretty streetwalker lady.
Yes, but she does serve the purpose of letting us see that Mr. Hand is fucking losing it. John, the serial killer John's memories are meshing with Mr. Hand and making him a serial killer.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of them leave, and he's like, oh, I've got a little extra business to do here, and we don't want to think about what that business is, but yeah, that blonde does not make it out alive.
Well, it's also... Remember, I told you that she had a daughter at the beginning of the movie.
Yes. Well, luckily, I have no mention of her in my notes, so she does not exist in my world. She comes up again. And I have no sadness.
She comes up again here shortly. But yes, so John rides all the way to the end of the line.
Yep.
And when he gets there, Eddie is there, sitting on the bench, and he's like, I know who you are, man. I know exactly what's going on. You and me, we both figured it out.
Yeah, and he again... Once again, this is why we didn't need the opening monologue. Tells us what we know already. About...
You've seen it. You saw them swap the bodies out. You saw them implant the memories.
They mix them around and switch them between us like puzzle pieces. But
sometimes
figured out a way out.
Wakes up.
Yeah, and Eddie at the end's like, but I figured out a way out, and he jumps in front of a train.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn, John, sorry you had to be here for that.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Emma on the waterfront.
She's sitting at the bench beside the lake.
And Mr. Hand walks up, and they have a little exchange where...
He recants the same exact words that John had said to her on the night that she fell in love with him.
Yeah, and Mr. Hand's like, oh, I met my wife here. And Emma's like, oh, I met my husband here. And he's like, oh, do you know where your husband is now? And she's like, no, I wish I did. And Mr. Hand's like, oh, fuck, that's dead end. He walks off.
Yeah, and I was surprised that he didn't kill her to just send a message.
Well, he will realize she has more use later. This is not the last time Mr. Hand will visit Emma. But
all right, so after this interaction with Mr. Hand, she keeps looking over the bridge to the window where he was looking, and he was basically pointing at whenever she was there, and she goes to that building.
Yeah. And
she finds the streetwalker dead.
Yes.
Emma finds the streetwalker dead.
Yeah.
But Inspector Frank is already right behind her.
Because he's following her.
Yep. And he's been tailing her this whole time.
Yeah.
And that's where
is where we cut. This is another place where I would have liked these scenes to have been a full scene by itself. But we're cutting between this and John getting to Neptune's kingdom. And it's kind of flipping back and forth. I will say this. If anyone has ever played BioShock... Neptune's Kingdom is a BioShock level.
It straight up looks like it.
Oh, this is where the steampunk... Imagine a steampunk aquarium. That's what you get from Neptune's Kingdom, and I love it!
So Uncle Carl shows up in a wheelchair, has a shotgun in him, and he's like, who are you?
Yeah, this is where John finds out this is his Uncle Carl.
Yeah.
That's how they're related. Yeah. And Uncle Carl sits him down for a
shows him slides of his childhood pictures.
Yeah, and Frank and Emma are... And then we cut back to Frank and Emma. Again, we're cutting back and forth a lot between them. Actually, and they're in the car.
Right before we cut back to Emma and Frank, there's a photo that pops up on the slide that shows a young teenage John with a giant burn scar on his arm.
Oh, yeah.
And John shows him, he's like, wait, Uncle Carl, I don't have that scar. And his arm is clean. There's no cut.
And Carl's like, well, what does that mean? And John's like, oh, how the fuck should I know? You're right, I forgot the burn scene.
And so we cut back to Emma and Frank at the apartment. He's about to call for backup to come collect the body.
Yeah.
And this is when Emma finds the woman's daughter hiding underneath the table. And
not in my version at
all.
Poor girl. That was completely cut out.
Oh, okay. Well, this added to me. For me, this added to the scene. This added to the scene.
Yeah,
so,
you needed some more heartbreak.
Well, no. It's because what happened. So, Frank is on the phone. Emma's looking around the apartment, and she hears something rattle under the table.
I feel better now because I know that I didn't miss the daughter. They cut the daughter out of my version. And so I don't feel so stupid.
Emma lifts up the tablecloth, and the daughter is underneath the table drawing. You know what she's drawing? She's drawing a crowd drawing of the strangers stabbing her mommy to death. Her mom is in a bloody pool, sprawled out, and you have 3 strangers with knives in their hands, all with the black hats and the black coats, and they look super tall and lanky and... Yeah.
I will say that explains how Frank and Emma knew they were dangerous later on when they rescued John from the strangers.
Yeah, well, that's because Frank kept the drawing from the little girl.
Okay.
So it cuts to the outside of them being like, oh my god, there's a kid, and they load her up into a police car to take her, away.
Yeah, all of this was not in my
Frank has her drawing in his hands, and he's just looking at it like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. He's like, I can't believe this kid. He's like, but now we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And he's like, these people are dangerous. Yeah. That's where that comes off, because he has the picture of the little girl's mom being murdered.
Yeah, for me it cut straight to Frank and Emma in the car, and Emma commenting on his accordion in the back seat.
Yeah, that he got from his dead mother.
I got from my dead mother, but you know what's crazy? I can't
remember when she died.
I can't remember when she gave it to me. How would you forget something like that? And I'm like... Yeah, how would you? ... No,
it's just, I'm pretty sure I just can't recall her dying. He's like, I don't have the he's like, I know she died, but I can't recall her dying.
I don't know.
And it's one of those fuzzy things that he's just like, I'm questioning everything I know right now because of what's happening.
They're missing their memories.
It is a beautiful quote.
Because Emma says earlier how she's missing. Oh yeah, it's
a beautiful
gorgeous.
Instrument.
Weird Al would be proud to play that thing. Carl puts John in his old room. Because his parents died in a fire, which we find out from the slideshow. Not that there's a picture of the house on fire in the slideshow, but it comes up. That's where the burn came from, is he got burned in the fire that claimed both his parents. So he was raised by Carl here in Dark City.
Mm-hmm.
They never named the city. But... So but before he died, this is one of my favorite... This is... You know how
this revelation?
The horror I love is the creepy horror.
Yeah.
And the creepy, it hits harder. There are 2 spots where it hits me so hard, and I'm like, I love this movie just for this 2 part. The first is when he's talking about what time is it. He's like, oh, it's almost 12. He's like, 12 noon or 12 midnight? And then he asks, where's the day? How did I miss it? Is it AM or PM?
How is it already night again?
Yeah. It was like, there has been no day. I don't think there's a sun in this place. And I'm like, whoo.
You probably just slept through the whole day.
Yeah.
Carl's trying to give justification.
Carl's just like, you're under a lot of stress, which is the worst thing to say to somebody in this situation. It's like, I'm not so stressed I missed daylight.
And so, since he's getting panicked that John's having a little bit of a freak out, he calls Emma behind his back.
Yeah.
Right as the clock is striking midnight once again.
Yep.
And Mr. Hand was spying on Frank and Emma the whole time.
Yes.
He knows exactly where to fucking find John now.
Yep. It's like, oh, Uncle Carl. Yeah. We haven't seen him in ages. And he does... Then we get our cool sleeper flying scene where there's like 4 of them flying. No, their arms are down by their side.
No, they're like this. Yeah.
And they're flying through the sky with their arms by their side. Oh, so creepy. Such a beautiful scene.
And once again, the city begins to shift and change, elongating.
Yep. People start passing out. And the next thing I wrote is...
This badass chase scene.
Yeah, this is a John gets his answers at knife point. He ends up
disabling Mr. Hand in a very quick 1-2.
Yeah,
puts his own knife to his throat.
He whips that ass. Yeah, he gets the knife to him, and
there is no escape.
Yeah, Mr. Hand kind of explains that he's got his memories now. The memories he's supposed to have.
Do you want the quote?
Yeah, please.
So, Mr. Hand, while having a knife to his throat, has said, "There's no escape, John. We made this city off of stolen memories, all from different eras of the past, all rolled into one, and every night we refine it, so we can understand the humans and be more like you. We've seen what you are. We use your dead as vessels."
That line itself, we use your dead as vessels. At that point, when I'm like, oh my god.
Blown.
Yeah, these things are corpses that they've been having as you get
so
around.
Much to it, and I was creeped out. I was like, wait.
And it's just one line. You can miss it if you weren't paying attention. But we use your dead as vessels, like, really brings home what a nightmare this is.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say we've seen what you are. It was supposed to be like, you've seen what we are. We use your dead as vessels. That was the line.
Yes.
And
so then Mr. Hand gets the advantage back, and John has to go running.
Yeah, and he only got the advantage because the city shapeshifted on them in the middle of the fight. Yeah.
But unfortunately, because the city is still shifting, he opens a door to nowhere because the building hasn't formed yet. He falls out of it, he grabs onto the ledge, and that's when Mr. Sleep gets his big scene.
This little shithead kid wearing
with
a
his
boulder
sharp
hat.
teeth.
Yeah, he's gnawing at John's knuckles, trying
to make him fall.
Yeah, either make him fall or eat his fingers.
But a chimney is rising up next to him because, again, the city is morphing. And he does a cool
Tom Cruise Mission Impossible.
Grabs it and gets away. And you see Mr. Sleep just watching him go. And I'm like, oh, sorry, little kid. You'll get him next time.
He's just like, He literally has a scowl on his face.
Yes.
And right when you think that they're about to get caught, because it is at the end of a dead alley line, it opens and shifts again, and Frank and Emma wind up driving up and saving John and forcing him in the back of Frank's car.
Yes, and get him away, which is great.
Just for him to be ripped down to the fucking police station to be interrogated and accused by Frank repeatedly, you killed him, didn't you?
Yeah.
What did you do?
And when he talks about, do you remember the last time you did something in daytime when it was bright out? Do you remember the last time you just saw something, and not some distant past, but something recent? And I was like, I just figured out what a great metaphor for depression this movie is, where every day nothing's bringing you joy, and it's just everyday.
There's a couple of metaphors that throughout this movie that are overlapping things.
Oh my god! When he was talking about,
he's like, "Hey, here's an easy one. Do you remember how to get to Shell Beach?
Show me how to get to Shell Beach." He's like, "Well, sure." He's like, "Come on." He's like, "Hey, give me a second." And sure enough, he does fucking not.
He's like, hold on, give me a second to think. Turns away, and all of a sudden, John, he just starts spinning the fucking booklet. Yeah. And I forgot about this booklet for a second because I didn't make big note of it. But when he's looking at it at Uncle Carl's house, it's hand-drawn cover. He opens it, it's fucking blank.
Yeah. Even though Carl had told him during the slideshow, he was always writing in it and always drawing in it.
They get to the police station, and the book is full of fucking cartoon drawings from when he was a child.
Yeah.
So it's what the hell is real anymore?
Yeah.
Wait, what was he looking at?
John's gotta feel like he's going. Were they not there when I did it? Are they not there now? Is he seeing something I'm not? Oh, it was great.
So Frank finally believes him just because he sees the book basically floating and spinning in the air due to John's mental telekinesis.
He believes him just in time because the sleepers hit the police station at very soon after.
Oh, dude, they just come in and straight start fucking making
sleep.
They grab the commissioner. The commissioner thinks he's being a smartass talking into Frank, of all people. He's like, I just want to congratulate you on that awesome work.
Well, no, he wasn't being sarcastic because his tone, the way that I read his tone might have been sarcastic, but he was giving him props for solving the case because they think they got their serial killer. They think it's John.
Turns around as Mr. Hand.
Yeah, but it's Mr. Hand instead.
And so when they finally get to the interrogation room, Mr. Hand is like, open. Yeah. So he opens the door, and Frank and John are fucking gone. Yeah. John was able to get Frank's help to get, once again, into a car and run away. And Mr. Hand's just like, okay. Slices the commissioner's throat and just drops his ass.
Just in a second. As soon as the room's empty. Boom.
He's like, they're not here. Slice. Yeah. All right, onward.
Yeah, we got. And here's the thing.
All I could say was cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded, and something none of the other sleepers would have done.
His personalities are changing him.
Mr. Hand did that because he's a serial killer now. Yeah, and all the other sleepers would have been like, well, we'll put him to sleep, we'll give him new memories, and it'll be we can keep learning from this guy. Fucking Mr. Hand's like, I like killing.
Yeah, it had a very Corinthian vibe to that.
Yeah. Now we get
John explaining.
We get Dr. Schreiber, and we get our three amigos on that road trip to Shell Beach because they catch Dr. Schreiber at the pool.
Yeah,
and this is where Dr. Schreiber does not want to go to Shell Beach. He wants John to use an injector on himself that he specially crafted for him. So he's got one of these injector needles. He's like, yeah, put this in your head.
I promise you, it will help everything. It will fix everything that's going wrong.
John and Frank are like, no, sir, you have not earned our trust yet. In fact, and Frank, it's very cute because Frank's got a gun on Dr. Schreiber because Schreiber had a gun on John. And he's like, I think we're going to Shell Beach. That's where you want to go, right, John? John's like, that's where I want to go.
Before this, I wanted to discuss about the romantic aspect of this.
You mean of Dr. Schreiber and John?
No.
John and Frank.
No, but before the interrogation and before John escapes with
the shattering glass.
Yes, okay, yes, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, please.
They're discussing, before he gets saved, John tells Emma his theory about what's happening, and she automatically is really on board. She just believes him. She's like, I trust you.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, she's proved she's ride or die when she fucking attacked a cop for him.
She's like, I don't know you, but I love you.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't fake that.
Yeah. Like, he's like, good point. Make out
one little vibration of the finger touch. He shatters glass and makes out with her.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck? Get away from her.
Yeah, I thought that was... They handled that calmly.
And I said, that's romance, right?
That's romance, baby. Love at first sight.
And then there was a shot that I was really confused by. I was like... immediately after that, maybe as the director's cut away from that to a shot of Frank just kind of laughing at it, and his shoelaces untied. He looks down and his shoelaces untied.
Well, in this,
I tried to understand that. I did not get that.
I will say earlier, he accused one of the rookies for having their shoelace untied. Later, when that rookie comes in and tells him, hey, the chief wants to see you.
Oh, your shoelace.
He's like, also your shoelace is untied.
Okay.
Now, as far as the thematic, I don't know what it was, but it was a callback to him telling him his shoe was untied earlier.
Okay.
And the only thing I can think of is it showing that Frank is kind of coming a little unglued because he's all tight laced. And now he's let one of his shoes get untied, didn't even notice till somebody called him out on it. Yeah, he's loosening up a bit.
Okay, I was just confused because they showed Frank Lee in his untied shoe, and all of a sudden that's when the strangers invaded, and I was confused. I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
So, alright.
So now we're on our trip to Shell Beach. The car ends up going to the end of a pier, and Frank's like, I swear there was a bridge here that used to take you to Shell Beach. But there is a little rowboat.
Let's not forget, right before they show up to the end of the pier, Schreiber's still not trying to comply, and
Schreiber does not want to get on this fucking boat.
John uses his fucking tuning abilities to torture Schreiber a little bit. You saw that, right? He kind of had that evil... Like, he kind of acted like the strangers a little bit. Like, he was losing part of himself and acting a little bit evil.
I kind of get it, though, because he's watched Schreiber work with the strangers, so he kind of thinks of him as just another enemy. And Schreiber has not convinced him he's on their team yet. I mean, if he had, he would have shot himself with that needle that Schreiber was trying to give him. So Schreiber is still on the... You work with the enemy. Just because you're acting all friendly to us now don't mean that you and me are friends.
I just wanted to point out the corruptibility of our pure hero. Because he has a clean slate at the beginning of the movie. He has no idea who he is. He's just a pure, ignorant bliss guy.
But he is willing to use his power to get Schreiber on board with their plan.
This quick scenario, which to me... You really aren't aware of the amount of time that's lapsed just because, you had 3 tunings happen in the course of the movie. So
you would guess 36 hours if it's 12 hours of tuning, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You're guessing.
And so to me, it feels like this is all happening for John in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
Maybe not days, but it feels like it's only a few hours at a time.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this has got to be happening to this dude over the course of 8-hour day. That's what it feels like. But there's been 3 tunings, so it's been 3 days of no sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yes, slept.
Like a whole fucking couple days of no sleep, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
but they end up getting on a rowboat where Schreiber once again explains but this is the final explanation. This is where we get the everything is revealed. And Schreiber gives his tragic backstory, which is like they needed a psychiatrist, somebody who knew how humans worked and could mix these brain cocktails. So they let me keep my scientific pursuits, but they took all of my memories. And he's like, can you imagine what it's like to take your own memories under, threat of death? And it shows he's all beat up. Now you know why he has a bad knee and his eyes all fucked up. He's all beat up, and they're making him... I think they were doing it with their powers. Yeah. They're making him inject himself with a thing.
So he only remembered his scientific abilities and how to help with the process.
And that was heartbreaking because they ask, you keep saying took us. Took us from where? And Sharp is like, I don't know. I have no memories
I wasn't allowed to keep that memory.
I don't think anyone here does.
And just for the sake of reiteration, the highlights of first there was the darkness, then there came the strangers. Then they abducted us and brought us here. This city and everyone in it are their experiments. They mix and match memories as they see fit to define what makes us so unique. When they want to study someone, they create a new personality for this person, new everything. They think that they can understand the human soul if they can make our memories.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to explain the fact that this is what threw me off once again, they are a hive mind species who don't have individual control and are on the brink of extinction. They hate the light and water.
Yeah.
Dr. Schreiber discussing...
Which, man, a beach. That's like your worst enemy.
Right? And that's
no
they
wonder
got rid of it.
Get to Shell Beach.
But they finally, after getting this more of a background information, as much as Schreiber can provide them, they finally get to where Shell Beach is supposed to be.
Right. And Schreiber the whole time's like, you won't find anything there. Don't go there. And this was the second. The first was when the guy was saying, have you seen the sun? Is it 12 a.m. or 12 p.m.? The second is the Shell Beach reveal. It's just a welcome to Shell Beach sign backlit.
Yeah, on a wall. On a brick wall.
On a brick wall. It is It is... I can't explain the emotion that hit me with, but it hurt. When the first time... I remember it from the first time I saw the movie.
Nothing.
Getting to Shell Beach and finding it be... It's all been... Like, Shell Beach is only in your head, man.
You know what it reminded me of? There's a movie that I wanted to cover later down the road.
Truman Show?
No, motherfucker.
I got a little bit of Truman Show.
Well, I guess I could agree with that.
But no, what movie are you
The Cube.
About? Ooh, I'd like to do the Cube.
Do you remember
yeah.
We're going to watch the new version, the Japanese version, because holy shit, they did it so much better.
Oh, that's cool.
They did it so much better.
Yeah.
But the reveal is still the same.
Okay.
Getting to the edge of the wall, and there's nothing fucking there on the edge but an eternal drop.
Yep.
You're just in this fucking prison.
So... they start breaking through this brick because they're like, "There's got to be something here. This can't be the end."
Madness is taking over. They're like, "We're not. This can't be it. This can't be it."
And Schreiber is scared to death. He's like, "Don't," because he knows what's on the other side of that wall. They break through.
They're in a vacuum of space. The space we saw at the beginning of the movie.
Not only are we not in Kansas anymore, we're not on Earth. We are on a city ship.
We are in the flat Earth city.
Yeah.
We cut away and we see the great vacuum of space that they're in this little like protected solar bubble.
Yep.
On the edge of the galaxy.
It is just the galaxy.
Vast expanse of space.
And about this time the sleepers show up and they're like, it looks like you know it all now. And they have Emma. Yeah. Mr. Hand has Emma at knife point.
They try to fight back though.
They do actually. This is when we lose Frank.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because, again... You know, I'm as A-cab as the next guy, but I was starting to like Frank. And plus, Frank, not a real cop.
Yeah, exactly. I was able to forgive him more.
But he doesn't go out without a fight. He does take one of the sleepers with him.
Yeah.
And when they float out past the protected bubble where the air is, you follow them out, and then you get the camera view of the city. It's just a round city. Like on a plate, like you say, the flat earth theory, with a wall all the way around it, and then under it, you see their empire, which is all blues and blacks. You can see parts of the machine.
Like fungus puffs bubbles, and like...
You can see parts of the machine, you can see rails that they will be riding on shortly.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a beautiful ship. Like, I would love to have just a model of that to, like, hang from my ceiling. Because
it's very cool.
It's a glorious looking scene.
Very cool. It gave me those...
And you get that real Cthulhu Outer Darkness, like, abyss horror at that point when you realize how deep in it they are. Out in the middle of nowhere.
Once we get this reveal of seeing the giant flat city Earth, because that's all there is. It's just the city. There's literally nothing else beyond it.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that exists is the city.
Yeah.
And it just keeps changing and reshaping and growing.
Yeah. So when Eddie was saying there's no way out, he meant that literally.
Yeah.
No subways, no roads, no rivers.
You're not even on Earth. You're not... Like, oh, we can get out of here, we can get back to our home in whatever state
we don't even know where we are in space, and space is big.
And so finally
they have to give up because Hand's got Emma.
Yeah, John just lets himself fall susceptible to the sleep trick.
He tries to bluff, but you can't bluff Mr. Hand because Mr. Hand is got enough John in him to know he won't let her come to harm.
So they kidnap John, and he only wakes up one time. He's still pretty damn strong.
Yeah.
He wakes up one time when he's on the rail track going down the road. It looked like something out of Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
That level of Donkey Kong country where you're riding the rail cars.
Imagine those levels if they were black and blue instead of brown and, I don't know, banana filled. Like it's exactly that. Yeah.
I do feel like the cinematography, whoever chose the tone, the visual hue of the movie, being the light blues and harsh off-whites and stuff, very much had a love for, I believe, Tim Burton and Clive Barker.
Oh, man.
Because this vibe was like, I keep feeling elements of Michael Keaton's Batman and Hellraiser.
Yeah. When you're in the amphitheater at the end where they're all gathered, like, it does feel like, what if the Rome Colosseum was done by Tim Burton underground? Like, that's the vibe I get, because they have the I guess bleachers, for lack of a better term, where they're all standing, and then the
bronze statue even had a very Metropolis Gotham vibe.
Oh, that is right out of Gotham, like right out of Gotham City.
And but they finally bring him to their lair. He's on this operating circle, not a table; it's a circle. He's
everything circles, spirals, circles.
Yeah.
You want to talk about themes in this movie? Yeah.
And so the Hive start discussing what to do with him, and of course, Mr. Sleep, kill him.
And as I said at the beginning, I'll say it again now. Listen to Mr. Sleep. He's got the right of it.
Mr. Book, though, protests. He says they shouldn't kill him because he has what they've been seeking.
Yeah, he's like, this person is the perfect combination of our powers and that soul thing we've been looking for.
He is our evolution. Yeah. We must harness him while we have him. Yeah. We don't need anything else. Shut it all down. Everyone must go.
Yeah.
Shut it all off forever.
It's like a mattress sale. Everything must go.
Shut it all down forever.
And they wheel in Schreiber, who's on a very strange, like, chain. He's like,
they know not to trust him. They know not to trust him.
But with wheels and his hands free, so he kind of wheels himself over, and they're like, get his essence out and give it to all of us. We're gonna fucking stick it right in my veins. I'm mainlining some John right here.
Yeah, mainline that John soul.
But Schreiber,
sleight of hand.
Yeah,
sleight of hand.
Flips the needle that he was trying to get John to take this whole time out of his head and gives him that instead.
Did you notice the difference in the needles?
No, I didn't.
Alright, so if you look at the one that he was trying to get John to inject himself with, it was a golden yellow. Almost like what you think a essence of a soul looks like.
Or what's the ambrosia? The nectar of the gods.
Yeah, it looked very much like that. Yeah. While the one that they were injecting everyone else was that whitish blue-purple liquid that kind of like come. Yeah. I can't stop! I can't stop!
Yes. So they gave him the good stuff. And I like the way this was done. Like,
bro, the super memories is what I call it. I call it, they give him the super memory juice.
So what Kiefer Sutherland has done, and I'm calling him Keither now because, man, he looks very different now because he has injected himself through John's entire life so that he can train him from birth.
He's not disfigured. He's not hobbling around.
He can train him from birth.
All at once. And this is what you were talking about, the Matrix. This is like that scene in the Matrix where Neo plugs in, and in 2 minutes, he learns everything about the world and Kung Fu and every martial arts and every... that's exactly...
Keither gave him a lifetime of training via injection. And, like, from school teaching, from him with his uncle, from him on the beach, like, all of it. Like, he has even puts himself as the fireman that rescues him from the fire that kills his parents. And the whole time he's pep talking him, he's showing him the layout of their machine, how to control it.
This is how you destroy it.
Everything he's learned over the years that he's worked with them. And sure enough, fucking John comes out of this mad. He
breaks it.
No, he doesn't. He melts it behind him into the earth.
Oh, I thought
he just steps out of it. No, he just steps out of it and it just turns to water and goes into the ground.
See,
it was
awesome. What I thought I saw was it like bending away from him and then dissolving into the ground. I thought it.
There might have been some bent. I'll give you some bending. It might have bent away first, but yeah, it like kind of waters behind.
It looked like a Magneto thing was happening, and then it just dissolved. Is what I saw. But it was still badass as hell.
Yeah, and then we get the battle between Mr. Book and Mr. John.
Yes,
for the souls of everyone.
So I thought this was really funny.
Yeah,
this whole crazy fucking scene where they're having a mind battle.
Yeah.
Looks cool on camera, right? Mm-hmm. Looks fucking... There's people flying around, the building's crumbling, the hideout is collapsing, people are getting smushed.
Rocks coming out.
Giant,
stalactites.
Trying to impale each other.
Whichever one coming out of the ground.
As the actors, standing across from each other, you're just standing there going... like, trying to turn Super Saiyan.
Like, you got that...
it must have felt ridiculous.
You got that angry muscle... cramp on your first take, which is great. You are an actor extraordinaire, John.
Yeah, no.
Mr. Book.
Also, speaking about this memory implanting thing and the way that he's just learned everything he needed to know in a matter of like 60 seconds.
Yeah.
I feel like Andy Boyers, the guy who made the movie or came in, should have sued the Wachowski twins, the guys who or the ladies who made who made the Matrix franchise. Yeah. That is bullshit plagiarism right there.
Yeah,
I know that we've talked about that woman before in the past that claims she made Terminator and the Matrix. Yeah. Bitch, you didn't make shit. This dude clearly had a big.
And that's only the beginning. Oh, so you have a bunch of really pale people dressed all in black that can control reality around them?
Suits.
Yeah, like they control reality all around them?
Mr. Smiths.
Yes.
That's the ripoff of the Matrix.
Yeah, for sure, for real.
Yeah. Like, the Matrix totally bit that style. Like, and Dark City came out 4 years before the original Matrix.
I'm surprised that John, while he's...
Wait, so the Matrix came out in 99?
It came out a year later.
Okay, so
99.
Yeah. A whole year before that existed.
Yeah, I'm surprised that John, like, in that thing was like, oh, I can bend spoons. That's neat. Like, just straight up. But we have a very cool fight. And I like how it starts out so epic. Like, just the machine gets busted up through the earth. All of the other strangers get tossed around like confetti.
From the blast, the mind blast between Book and John.
Keith Sutherland ends up on the surface. But at the end, after all of that, it just comes down to a knife fight. A simple knife fight.
Right.
Like, I like that these dudes are from this fucking this future where they have all these powers and they're still like, but I like stabbing stuff.
But it was a cool game to play. So it was basically a game of tug of war
with a knife, trying to put it between each other's eyes.
Takes the dagger and he tosses it as hard as he can towards John.
With mind powers, and his hand,
to add some extra oomph behind it. It gets to John's face and John's like
stops it just in time
and rotates it and forces it and shoots him right in the fucking throat.
Yeah, right through the throat.
I thought it was the heart.
No, the heart is when he ends up in the water tower, and it's coming out of him there. Yeah, like you watch it go right through his throat, and he also throws him backwards into a water tower that he raises up, and then explodes, so that one of the beams of the water tower ends up going right through Mr. Mr. Book's entire body, and you see his little
his tentacle monster comes out. And fucking like evaporates.
Yeah.
Like
the last, like I said, we only get 3 shots of tentacle monsters in this, and that is our last one. Where sadly Mr. Book is no more, and John comes to Earth, and Dr. Schreiber's like, "Hey, that was cool."
So what do now?
Yeah, what now do? And he's like, well, I gotta find Emma. He's like,
she's not.
That's Anna now.
Yeah,
she's a different person.
And
he's like, well, put him back. And he's like, well, you kind of blew up all of my sauces down there.
Yeah, I don't have a way to get the lab.
Like, I no longer have the KFC original recipe. You trounced it with the rest of the lab.
And the strangers were the way that I got the memories.
I'll be honest, I was a little worried that like John was going to crush his windpipe at that point.
Go full villain?
But he's like, no. And Schreiber's like, so what do we do now? And he's like, you said I can make things better.
I'll do anything.
I'm going to go make things better. Yeah. And he just kind of walks off. And as he's walking, you're watching like all the damage done get repaired. And he starts making the ocean.
Bro, when he added the ocean
and the pier,
I saw water flooding out of the side of the building.
Yeah.
Where's all that water coming from?
It's filling up the gap where you can breathe, but that weird shielded area.
Now it is officially a flat Earth. This is the shit that people used to believe back in the day. Like, you will sail to the edge of the Earth. If you go too far, you're gonna fall off. What he made, what John Murdoch just made here at the very end, is literally the flat Earth.
Yeah, and it's the flat city. It's not like you don't even get a whole Earth. Maybe you will when his powers get stronger.
I mean, he's able to add extra land on top of the water.
Yeah,
he winds up creating Shell Beach.
Yeah, kudos to him.
Because he just wanted to finally go home.
Anne wakes up from her night job at the movie theater now.
She is now Anna.
And she's now Anna. She gets on a bus that says Shell Beach. And good on her.
When Anna gets on the bus, a older gentleman offers her his seat.
Is that when he says, babe?
No, that's Uncle Carl, who can now fucking walk.
Yeah.
That's Uncle fucking Carl, who can now walk.
Yeah. Good on you, Carl.
Yeah.
I'm glad Carl got
he wasn't gotted.
Yeah. And so it ends with Mr. Hand, who is
somehow not dead yet.
The last of the strangers. And I think the reason he is the last to die is because he has John's soul in him. But it is disagreeing with him like it's a little pitiful. Like chimichangas can disagree with me if they're too spicy. And he just wants to know what it feels like to be John. Yeah, and John gives our very our very cute answer of, you were looking for the soul, you were looking in the wrong place. He points to his head and his heart.
He's like, you were looking in our minds, bro.
You were looking
always in our hearts.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not how fucking science works.
Well, we're talking about souls.
I know, but it was super cheesy. It was super cheesy.
It was. All the other...
You gave me the most Batman line.
All the other cheesies that I had no problem with, that you did have problems with, this one I will meet you with. I will be like, that
it was too Adam West.
Little cheesy. But then he walks out, and we get to see the sun, and you don't realize how much you missed it till it comes back. I was like, oh, this is nice. Oh, sunshine. I've been waiting the whole movie to see Jennifer Connelly's beautiful face in the sun.
So, it's funny. When this happens, right as it's happening and the sun starts coming out, the very peak starts rising over the city, you get that shot of Schreiber walking down the street and then looking over and be like, huh. And he just walks off into the sunlight.
Kind of like, I've done good.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it happened. And he just gets to go off and live whatever kind of life he has in this city.
Yeah, well, he walks to the end.
No, Schreiber. I'm talking about Schreiber.
Oh, yeah.
Schreiber is in the city. He's all hobbling.
He kind of has that.
And he's just like, huh.
You did it, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, kind of, you just see him hobbling off down into the city.
I assume he's here's what I wish for him and think happens. He retires and spends his day tending a garden and his night just soaking in that tub in that big bathhouse. Yeah. And he just happily retires in that life.
I was also sad that we didn't really get to see Mr. Hand die. He was just left for dead.
He does this thing when the sunlight hits him,
but you don't see him die for sure.
We don't see him die, and I'm fine with it. He says he's dying. He gets hit by sunlight, I assume.
Yeah, and so we get the very happy resolution.
Happy ending. John and Anna
meet for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time. And basically, they end up going to Shell Beach together, and thus ends Dark City. The last thing I wrote here was, 3 months later, all these pale white folks die of skin cancer because they haven't had sun.
I want to point something out about that ending where John meets Emma on the pier. Anna on the pier now. Please. I just thought it was very interesting that their third underlying theme was that love transcends, the what you know and more about what you feel. Mm-hmm. So she has said multiple times, I don't know you, but I love you. I just feel it. I know it. And in this at the very end, she still has that natural attraction to him just from their encounters in previous life memories. Yeah. And it's just funny that even though she doesn't know him, she still has that natural attraction, and she asked him to accompany her to Shell Beach. Well, I'm going there.
Yeah, he asked where Shell Beach is. She's like, oh, it's right down there. And she's like, I'm heading that way. Would you like to join me?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was I think it's funny that she just naturally is attracted to him to the point where she's like, well, if you're planning on going there, I'm going there. You want to come with me? You want to accompany me? Yeah. And they just walk off, and I'm thinking about this whole time. She's walking off with God, the guy who's essentially God now. Yeah. He is God. Yeah. In
their lives will probably be okay.
Yeah, and just end. That's it.
Yeah.
Just end. Walk off into the sunlight together. Not sunset, the sunlight.
Yeah.
I had to add that. They walk off into the sunlight.
Yeah. So, Dark City. What'd you think?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Big fan. I liked it a lot. It was definitely up that niche of I prematurely judged you a little bit for suggesting this because I was like, this is sci-fi, bro, This isn't horror. This is kind of breaking our rule.
Yeah.
And then when it was...
As soon as the sleepers show up...
I was like, oh, okay, this is horror.
Yeah.
And I was just like, the fear of waking up and not knowing. I was like, this is almost a true crime vibe.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, all right.
Like, we got monsters. We got serial killers. We got everything you could want in our horror sci-fi genre.
I definitely was glad that we got a chance to watch this one. I didn't even fucking know it existed.
Dude, last month when you told me you hadn't seen it yet, I was so excited. And then I immediately got worried because I was like, oh man, maybe it's not as good as I remember. But yeah, it was for the most part. And I'm very happy with it. It did, I agree with you, it did hold up for me. I know for you it was the first viewing, but for me it definitely was as good as I remembered. And I'm so glad we've covered it for the show and have got the horror sci-fi genre. We've got our first of what I hope will be many forays into the horror sci-fi world. Now, before we go to our short, I would like to know what we're doing next month.
Alright, so for next month's viewing pick, I have decided to go with a early 2000s hit.
Woo woo.
Cult classic is a recurring theme here.
Yeah.
Hidden gem. Yeah. I have decided to go with the ever beautifully macabre The Cell. Starring Jennifer Lopez and Vincent D'Onofrio.
J-Lo.
So we get J-Lo, Jenny from the Block, versus Kingpin.
Yeah.
A
young Kingpin.
Yeah. He did a lot of fucking crazy movies when he was a lot younger.
You get the work where you can, right?
He was also Thor in Adventures in Babysitting.
Oof, yeah.
He was a young stud back then.
Yeah.
But, I thought The Cell would be a good pick. It was one that I brought up with my fiance, and she hadn't seen it before.
Ooh,
so, getting her to watch it is definitely...
Here's the thing, I'll be very interested, because I remember liking The Cell a lot the first time I saw it. And thinking the special effects were amazing.
Oh, so good.
So I hope that much like Dark City, those special effects
this is still in this. Technically, this is still in the sci-fi horror genre, but this is more of the macabre body horror sci-fi aspect of it.
And this also gives us our people acting outside of their comfort zones.
Oh yeah,
like having J-Lo in a horror movie is unique enough to cover by itself.
Personally, I would rather watch J-Lo in movies like The Cell than watch her in movies like Anaconda or Shotgun Wedding or Jersey Girl. Shit like that. I would rather watch the style of acting she did in The Cell.
Yeah.
That was like a good, solid movie for her, but because it technically bombed at the box office, it didn't take off. Still was a huge hit with horror diehards.
Oh yeah,
and that's why it still is talked about. I think like 25 years later.
There's a lot of movies
they recently had the anniversary,
given their fair shake in the theaters, but then ended up being like this one was not a huge hit in theaters, but then ended up being a classic. 13 Ghosts is another one that comes to mind.
Anybody that tells me that they don't like 13 Ghosts can go fuck right off.
That didn't do well in the box office, but ended up doing well. Dude, here's the thing. You can hate everything else about 13 Ghosts.
Matthew Lillard is a Scream King.
But if you don't like the ghost designs, we're going to come to blows.
Bro,
you can hate everything else about that movie. But if you don't like the ghost designs, we're going to fight.
My band, Butcher of Rostov, made our first EP based off of 13 Ghosts movie. The premise of the Black Zodiac was what our first fucking release of music was ever based off of.
Nice.
Like, the title track Black Mass was about the Black Zodiac and conjuring the 12 fucking spirits so you can make the 13th sacrifice. That was literally what our album was about. And so that movie deeply resonates with me.
It will be covered on this show.
It also did give me some fucking creeps.
I guarantee. I guarantee. But that is a month from now. We still have a short to go over.
So keeping in the sci-fi genre, I decided to go
Get us in our junk. Let's dig through our junk drawer and see what short we have available for us today.
Welcome to Junk Talk.
Junk Talk, talking about junk. By the way, if you want to write us a little soundbite for that, please do. We'll use it in the show.
That'd be helpful. Basically, this one is it's about time travel. It's a time travel paradox.
Yes,
and it's called "A Man Goes to a Public Restroom and Gets Trapped in a Time Paradox." Quote stalled. This 19-minute short film was written and directed by Matt Black. and it stars only one person.
Yeah.
Well, technically two, but the other person isn't really credited.
It's like what, a phone voice?
No.
Oh, the janitor.
Yeah.
The Fae.
Actor Jacob Daniels stars as the lead, Pete.
Yes.
And basically, a ruthlessly ambitious business executive, Pete, is on his way to an important meeting when he realizes he's running late.
Yeah.
As he pops into the restroom, he's rude on the phone to his coworker, and he's short-tempered with the janitor, revealing cutthroat selfishness and entitlement. When he's in the stall, he sees a strange message written on his toilet paper, and then something peeking into his stall. Investigating the sounds of a scuffle outside, he realizes he's been locked in the bathroom, and realizes the person peeking into his stall was himself, and he cannot escape. Until he's unlocked the temporal paradox he's found himself in, he won't be doing any means of confronting his worst enemy but himself.
Yes. So, right off the bat, when Pete is talking on the phone, they're saying it's 2:30. He's looking at his watch and saying it's not 2:30 yet.
It's 2:10.
2:10. I'm like, has this thing already started rolling at this juncture?
Yes. So, alright, right off the bat, the time paradox starts when he enters, right?
Okay, as soon as he walks into the...
And it's an ever-shifting thing.
Okay.
And the reason why the time overlaps, the 2:30 phone call comes at 2:10 is because another him was shifting. And it's like branches on a tree.
Okay.
And basically, every time it grows out, one of the selfish Pete's makes another branch extension.
Gotcha.
So, everything is sporadically overlapping with each other because stuff that happened on one timeline slightly diverges from the original plot, thus making a shit ton of time paradoxes.
Gotcha. I will tell you this, though.
And he actually does clearly explain it halfway through. When I was, because I rewatched it again, I was like, all right, I'm a little lost. All right, I'm slightly keeping up. Because they also made the joke about the time travel that they're experiencing.
Yeah.
No, we're going to do continuum time travel.
It's not Back to the Future time travel. It's continuum time travel.
Yeah.
It's not this. It's not it. Yeah.
Oh, it's time machine time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's, so...
As soon as he started being mean to that janitor...
Yeah.
I was like... This gave me very... I call it Fae vibes, but it's kind of similar to Beauty and the Beast, where the old lady comes and asks for shelter, and the guy's like, fuck you don't get no shelter, and she curses him to be a beast. Bro, these horror stories of you being an asshole for no reason when you should be kind, and then getting your comeuppance for that. As soon as he started being mean to this janitor, I was like, oh, we get one of these stories.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Alright, let's recap. Pete comes in, he's on his phone, and he said, alright, I'll be there soon. What do you mean where I'm at? Yeah, it's 2:30, Pete. You're supposed to be here 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, we gotta start this meeting. These investors are here. John can go do it. No, John will not fucking do it. This is my client. This is my case. If anyone touches it, I will kill you.
Yeah.
And he turns around to the janitor who's just watching him, and he's like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
And
then he's got some schmutz on his
shirt that he's trying to clean off.
Like, hey,
give me some paper towels.
Paper towels, yeah. No thanks. Snatches them out of his hands. Total.
And the janitor, this is very important.
Yeah.
After he gets off the phone call, he's like, what are you looking at? The janitor just says, you are not a good person.
Yeah.
And then he looks back and he's like, whatever. He's wiping his face and his shirt off. And he tells Pete while he has his back turned to him, he's like, one day you're going to have to look at yourself. And you might not like what you see.
like what you see. Yeah.
And
as soon as he says that,
his stomach growls. And he
gets the tummy grumbles. He got an upset tum-tum.
He got an upset
tum-tum.
So he goes to the toilet, and as soon as he sits down, he's just kind of relaxing, getting the shit out.
Yeah.
And some shoes appear in front of his door stall.
Just standing there.
Yeah, just standing there. Yeah. And tries to open the stall. He's like, hey, asshole, I'm in here. Yeah. He's just being a real piece of shit. Real piece of work, you know? And and so he just goes about his business. He's like, whatever.
Well, he reaches over for some toilet paper because he's like, I might want to wrap this up. Things are getting weird.
But right as he sees the toilet paper, the toilet paper has writing on it. It says, don't panic.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this, but you're in a time loop. Yeah. And he looks up, and he just sees a green eye staring back at him through the door crack.
You are never more vulnerable than when you're on the toilet.
Especially in a public area. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But he freaks out, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? So he goes up the door, and the person is gone.
Yeah.
The person is gone. So he shuts the stall behind him.
Yep.
And he's looking around, he tries to look around, and he goes to open the door, and the door is locked. Yeah. So he turns back around and he goes to go back into the stall to get his stuff, like his bag and all that, and it's locked. And he hears a familiar voice. Hey, asshole, somebody's in here. He's like, whoa, what? And so slowly he looks down at his shoes, and you realize the shoes that he saw were his own shoes.
Yeah.
Thus we have our instance of the paradox increasing.
He looks in the crack and sees himself on the shitter, looking back at him, and he's like, oh, toilet paper didn't lie to me. I am in a paradox.
He's like, what the fuck is going on here? And so another stall opens beside him, and another him exits.
And attacks.
And he's like, yeah, I bet you're really fucking confused here, huh?
Wait, no.
Sorry, that was
fight scene first.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He opens the door stall on another him without the jacket on and starts attacking him.
Yeah.
Grabs him and throws him into the bathroom stall.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck just happened? He opens the stall and looks out, and there's no one there.
Yeah. But then he sees the him over there, like looking at the other stall where he was when he got attacked, and attacks that guy for attacking him. But the one that attacked him,
causing it to continue.
Yeah.
So,
which is again, we're getting paradoxes on paradoxes.
All right, that was why you got confused. Is because the purpose of this is to create multiple paradoxes to show how selfish this prick is.
Yeah.
The whole point is this man needs to learn a lesson, and he's never gonna get out of this if he doesn't change.
Yeah.
So there is a fixed point in time where he is in that transitional period of the time paradoxes.
Well, at this point, I am not yet confused. I will let you know when I get beyond the point, beyond the event horizon, and I do not know what's going on.
Now he has grabbed the other guy and thrown him in. He goes back to the stall again and finds another him dead with a bullet hole in his head.
Yes.
And
with his clock stopped at 3:30.
Broken.
Yeah.
And so he's like, what the fuck just happened? He turns around and another guy comes out. And
this is when he starts to get a story from him from the
he's like, you're right, it worked. He's like, what worked? he's like, yeah, you're right. You just gotta kill your future. And you go back and you look and you read the paper, and it says, don't panic, the only way that you'll get out of this is if you do things the right way, in the right order, and kill your future.
Yeah.
So basically, one of them is the real one. One of them is the constant. One of them is the original thread.
Right.
And he
explains to him that's like every time you shut the stall and pull the latch
at different points in time,
you are coming out at a different point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the guy that has come out of the stall is like, all right, now all you gotta do is get in that stall. And he says, no. And he's like, what do you mean no? Yeah. I went in the stall. You have to go in the stall. Yeah. This creates another. So every time one of them does,
it branches out.
Yes. Yeah. So we're trying to follow the guy that we saw from the original.
Right.
Everything we see is from that original guy's perspective.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So they start trying to map it out, and they talk about what time travel is, what version of time travel they're doing, and they're like, is this time travel? Is it a time loop? It's a paradox.
What are the rules? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, if I'm here and you're here, and Dead Dust is here. How do we get there without being dead? Yeah. It's like, easy. We just skip over here. Well, how do I do that? Kill my future. You just go in that stall and shoot yourself.
Yeah.
With what? A gun. But where did you get the gun? From you. But how did I get that gun? From other you.
Yeah.
And he's like, that doesn't make sense. It's time travel. It doesn't have to make sense. We're in a paradox.
Yeah.
And I love that they were just ripping on themselves about that. So I thought that was a good point.
This is what happens.
It does start getting very confusing after this next little segment.
When you install a bunch of TARDISes into your toilet stalls. This is not a good move.
Damn you, doctor! But
I will tell you, and I just have it right here. When I told Goreship that I did not understand this, he was like, oh, let me pick another one. I was like, no, we're not picking another one. You're going to explain it to me. Because I love time travel talk. I love this shit. But I will never understand it. My mind does not have the spatial reasoning to clearly understand it. But that does not stop me from enjoying it immensely. I always find it fun. And I find it fun when, like they do at this juncture, where you're finding out which time travel rules you're working with, like what parameters you're working in, because there's lots of time travel theories and they're all different and they all have different things that you can and can't do. I
also want to make a note.
It's all fun.
I want to make a note. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the time travel bullshit.
Yeah.
When he's being a dick, he's on the phone to his assistant saying, I'm looking at $1,200 worth of Italian engineering that says you're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
That comes back into play later.
Yeah.
So now we're at the point where they make a map of what the time travel loop is, or what they're going to do. And one guy's like, all right, well, I'll just go to the stall. He's like, wait, you can't do that. That's not fair to me. I want to live too. It's like, well, you're future, so you have to die.
Yeah.
No,
future me will thank you. Or no, I'll thank you in a few minutes or something like that.
And so he goes in the stall, against his other self's wishes, opens it up, and he's like, well, what the fuck is this? Door is still locked. He thinks he got out. He thinks he broke it. He thinks he fucking broke it.
Yeah.
And he's just scared and confused right now. And then another him pops out. He's like, you're right. This is it. Things are changing. Goes in and goes out into another stall. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
That guy is is your linchpin.
Okay.
That guy's your linchpin. Okay. Yeah. He is your alternate route.
Got it.
The one who's scared holding the door is the one that you need to remember. This is where the time axis is the critical point where you can correct it or not correct it.
Gotcha.
But because the one that's scared decides to act in selfishness instead of being selfless, more fucking trees are made.
Yeah.
So finally, he goes back and he comes out and there's multiple versions of him outside the cell. He's like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. He's like, well, some of us assholes keep not making the right choice, and we keep spawning more idiots.
Yeah.
Huh? What? Were you saying something? As he's taking a piss at the urinal.
Yeah.
And it's showing all the different facets of his personality. All of them are just selfish assholes. Yeah. So this is the metaphor of, take a good look at yourself, man. You're only in this situation because of yourself.
Yeah.
And so, finally, one of them that's looking at him, he's like, you know what? It's been right in front of us this whole time. You have to kill our future. And it's time to start closing some doors. Yeah. He grabs the gun and starts shooting all of them.
Throwing them into the different stalls. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, this will close this will cut the vein off of where these other snakes are trying to spread. All these Hydra heads. Hydra heads, that's perfect. Yeah. All the other Hydra heads are trying to sprout. He's cutting them off. Yeah. Problem is, he's still a selfish asshole.
Yeah.
So when he thinks he's about finished, he holds one of them at a point. He's like, get in that stall. It's your time. Yeah. He's like, that's not how this works. This didn't happen. He's like, nope, but it's going to.
Yeah.
And the guy tricks him, shuts the door. He's like, fuck, my plan is ruined. I gotta do it all over again. And he's just looking around. He's like, what the fuck? And so he's kind of like defeated. Doesn't know what to do. And that's when he decides, okay, well, I guess I'll fucking take one of these other dead bodies. Another guy comes up and pushes him into the stall. He's like, wait. Yeah. And you see the bullet hole all of a sudden on the door. And he's like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. He opens the door again, and you see the one that's scared. The one's like, what is happening, man? He is not the same guy that we just saw. He's not the same Pete. His mind state, this is the shifting point. Okay. He comes out, and he tells him, once again, you're going to get in that stall and you're going to die. Right. And that's where he's like, no. So he pushes him into the stall, and when he shuts the door, when he shut the stall before, it goes through and kills the other one, breaking the time cycle finally. Okay. That's what happened.
That's the part that I did not get.
The one that learned the lesson got to live. Yeah. So finally, when he tricks himself into getting pushed back into the stall, he closes it right at the perfect time, where the other one who shot through the door just a minute ago basically killed himself. Yeah. Right after he shot the bullet. Oh. That's what that was. Wow. That was your linchpin, bro. Yeah. The one who learned the lesson.
Yeah. That's where, like, that last little 2 minutes. Yep. Where, yeah, clever.
And so, he finally, he realizes there's no more bodies coming out of the stalls. Yeah. There's just all the dead ones that are already there, and no more are coming out. I'm the only one left. Yeah. He sits down. After he wipes his face and stuff off, he throws away his Italian tie, throws away his expensive jacket, and his Italian wristwatch, throws it all in the trash. Yeah. And he's finally able to leave. Yeah, doors unlocked. Yeah. He learned to be a better person.
You give all that shit to the janitor.
And you know what the dead giveaway that this was going to be our survivor? When Home Duty says, getting the fucking sorry now. Yeah. It's like, you are not a good person. No, you're right. You are a bad person. Yeah. That's how you knew that guy was going to be the one that...
So is that guy also the janitor?
No. Janitor is a metaphor for a god or an angel.
He just figured it out. Yeah. Yeah. That was another thing. I was like, wait a second. Did he, after he gave up all his shit, become a janitor in this place or something?
I don't think it was him. Yeah. I don't think it was him. To me, it looked like a representation of God or
no, I like that. I like that better.
Some type of entity that's teaching him, because he finally learned to not be a fucking prick.
I will tell you this. This is when I figured out that was the good one. Even though I didn't know anything else that was going on, was when he was like, if I do this, I can still make the meeting. And the guy's like, how the fuck can you still care about
he's like,
the
that's
meeting?
all you care about.
And that, like, no, he literally, how the fuck can you still care about the meeting? Like, how can you care about the meeting after all we've seen and done?
Yep.
It's like, and I was like, okay, this one, finally one of them is thinking correctly that it would be crazy to give a shit about the meeting after you've experienced this. Like, this guy.
He's like, I still have 8 minutes to make the meeting.
Yeah,
my watch.
I was like, okay, obviously this guy's a piece of shit, but this one seems like he's learning.
Yeah, and you notice the one who lived, he sat there and waited to miss the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
He waited to miss the meeting on purpose.
Yeah. See, now I get it. And now I'm like, yes, fucking skip the meeting. Quit your job. Burn it to the ground.
The reason why I thought this was a good one, keeping in the sci-fi genre, because it did have a very holy shit twist thriller vibe to it. Maybe not so much horror, but the idea of having to confront yourself is horror in its own right.
And you had a pile of corpses. I mean, I'd allow it. Yeah,
slit throat.
Guy vomiting next to his own corpse. That's a weird feeling. Yep. That's a weird thing. Yeah,
it's a great watch. It's funny. The acting is superb. I really like.
This guy's good.
He was great. Yeah. He was great at playing
his ability to be different hymns.
Yeah.
I mean, can there be a harder role than role-playing yourself, acting with yourself? Like, that sounds... I don't know. That sounds like acting top.
You know what? Eddie Murphy makes it look so fucking easy in The Nutty Professor.
Eddie fucking Murphy. Oh.
You know, let's not forget Adam Sandler and Jack and Jill.
Oh, God, Josh. You are not naming things that are supporting your case. I'm sorry. Those are bad movies with bad people, and you can tell them I said
Dana Carvey and the Master of the Skies.
Do turtle for your turtle club. Turtle.
To relieve the turtle club.
Oh, man. That is the only funny line in that movie.
I really enjoyed this short.
It was good. I really liked it. Like I said, it didn't matter that I didn't understand it, because I'm a sucker for time travel. Like, you put me in a time travel, I'll be happy, even if at the end I'm just going, but what happened?
There was a few.
I'm the person who had to watch Donnie Darko like 3 times before I got it.
I watched it so many times and I still don't care for that movie.
Oh man, I love it, but it took me a while to figure it out. Like, it was one that the first 2 times I watched it, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was I had like 2 or 3 others that I was gonna choose between.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're all sci-fi horror in their own right, but this one, I liked the vibe. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Please don't take this as an offense, but the Pete guy gave me a very you humor kind of vibe. Gave me a very Reno humor kind of vibe.
I won't take it.
Not as
narcissistic. The second time I've been compared to a person in a movie, so
not to say that you are that narcissistic.
I can roleplay as that. I can roleplay as that, if nothing else.
It was just funny. I was like, I feel like this might speak to him a little bit more just because the character work.
I did. I very much enjoyed it. And in a month's time, we'll have a new short that I also have narrowed down to about 3. We'll see. There's so many ones, like, this week. I got decisions. This week alone, like, 3 more came out that I wanted to look at. And I was like, God damn, there's so many. Much like our movie, I mean, there'll be no end to this. They're like, material will continue to come out for it. We're never going to catch up. It's like what a cartoon always talks about. Eventually, we're going to have covered every cartoon ever. And like, no, of course you won't. Like, not possible. But thank you for the Dark City pick. I really, really glad that I found this one out. And I am hoping that in a month we will have just as much fun. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction that we will have just as much fun talking about The Cell in a month's time. We're going to talk about how much you were disturbed by it and how much I was like, oh, fuck, I loved it. Yeah, that's essentially what we're going to boil it down to. There is some gore in this, so... There is, but it's also so pretty. I'll probably forget. Beautifully macabre. That's the best way you can describe it. But until then, everyone, thank you so much. Links in the show notes to all the social medias. Jump on in and gives us likes, follows, 5-star reviews, all the things that every podcast ever tells you, for all the reasons that every podcast ever tells you. Yeah, it will help expand our reach so that we can get even more people in our evil Cthulhu tentacle grip. We will be doing better this coming week. Uploading the rest of the thumbnails to our Instagram page with the previous episodes, and we will get all the way up to our current episodes. So if you want to follow us at Judgy Horror Junk Pod on Instagram, and
Also, our email is judgyhorrorjunkpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, drop us a line. Give us a movie you want to see.
Yeah, maybe you have a suggestion.
A comment about something. We're here for all of that.
Recommendations welcome.
We want to hear from you. But until next time, horror fans, I don't believe in the sun. I think it's just a...
You belong to the night time. You belong to the dark city.
You're welcome.